kids. It's time to get some SML podcast all up in that.
Is it an R-rated show?
Yes. So bring it on.
It's just worth noting. I don't usually, but it's just worth noting. If something slips, I don't have to shit myself.
What's up, everyone? This is the SML Podcast. I am your host, Joe. Got a fun episode lined up today. We have Alex Verrey of LucidSound going to be joining us later on in the show. But until we get there, you know the drill. It is time for some reviews. And we're going to kick things off with one of our favorites. Pernell Vaughn is back. Pernell, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. Just went to the arcade. I got screwed over at the arcade, but I got angry and got some free credits out of the deal, so it bounced out.
What happened that you got screwed over?
I went to an arcade that's near me called Round One. It's maybe 45 to an hour away. And we called before heading up to make sure they were open and everything was up. And the guy's like, yeah, we're open. Come on up. So we drive up, and I show up. I swipe my card, play one game. And then after that one game was over, every machine went down. You couldn't play any games. Because apparently they were doing some kind of server update on all their card swiping mechanisms. And it wasn't like a mystery. They were working on this all day. And the decision to take everything down happened before that phone call came in. So I snapped and said, look, it's not that I have an issue with what you guys are doing. I understand you got to get your work done. But you could have done this and told me before I drove up here. I wasted a lot of time to come here. So... guy, of course, the main manager was hiding in the back room, but, the grunts were stuck out there taking the calls I'm sorry. I'm like, look, I'm not mad at you. You're just doing your job. Your manager's too much of a chicken shit to come out, though. So he's making you take all the angry customers, which isn't right. But since you are out here, you got to do something for me. So that's just how this is going to work. So he gave me some free credits and also gave me some free bowling vouchers. So I was like, well, that's a start.
Yay, bowling.
Exactly. My brother was like, that's great bowling. I'm like, I don't come here to bowl. I want to go to bowling. I got bowling alleys for that. I come here for import arcade machines. Shoot.
Nice.
And karaoke. But ultimately, it wasn't too bad. We hung out and chatted, but I was just mad that I drove all that way. Couldn't play crap. I just played one game of poppin' music, and that was it.
Well, at least you got to do something, and you could go bowling next time.
That is true. Ultimately, it wasn't a bad scenario. And the drive isn't bad. I don't mind driving a car. So it's just, I was ready to play some music games.
Well, are you ready to talk about some games that are not music or bowling related?
Well, I don't know. It depends on what game we're talking about, because there's a little bowling in there.
Well, we're going to kick things off with a game called Butcher, developed by Transhuman Design, published on console by Crunching Koalas. It released May 9th on PS4, May 10th on Xbox One for $9.99. It is also available on Steam with a soundtrack for $11.99. Butcher is a fast-paced 2D shooter and a blood-soaked love letter to the cult classics of the genre. If kicking corpses into a lava pit and adorning walls with blood is your idea of a good time, Butcher is the game for you. Pernell, was it the game for you?
Well, I can't really say I subscribed to all the bloody mayhem and nonsense, but hey, once I eventually got past that, yeah, it's actually a pretty solid game. When I first booted it up, I was thinking, this is too much for me. It's too gory. It's just kind of over the top for me. I could do without that.
Because it's a bloody game. This is a really, really bloody game.
Yeah, they ain't messing around. They pretty much say, hey, are you a gore junkie? Because if you are, you want to get off on this right here. And they are not making that up.
Never thought I would see a pixel graphic game this graphically bloody. So pixely, graphically bloody graphic pixel.
And not even just that. If you shoot a guy, you'll think you killed him, and then you'll hear a lot of screaming. Ah! You're like, why am I still hearing this? I thought he was dead. No, he's actually suffering, and he's not quite dead yet. So the game wants you to know that you're leaving corpses littered about that aren't quite corpses yet.
Nice.
They're on their way there.
Nice.
You can listen to them ride the wave to Death Town.
So how does the game play? What is the game like?
It's basically like, I would say, a 2D version of classic Doom. But the shoe's on the other foot, whereas you're not a Marine killing demons, you're a cyborg, which will basically be a demon in certain games, killing humans. And it's supposed to be the remnants of Earth, which blows me away, because if that's what Earth is looking like in any timeline, we got a fucking problem. But you're supposed to be killing off the remnants of humanity. And it plays with it's sort of like a 2D side-scrolling shooter. One stick is to walk around. The other stick is to aim the cursor at your targets. And the game has a sort of auto-aim assist, so if you're pointing in the direction of a target, it'll kind of lock onto them so you can shoot a shot and take them down, which is convenient because the game is fucking hard. It is not easy. It has difficulties ranging from hard up. I don't even know what the highest one is because I was too much of a pussyfooter to even try for it.
Nice.
I stuck with hard. I died multiple times, but in a good way. Mostly trying to, either trying to deal with whatever random targets were coming at me. Also dealing with the fact that I kept trying to get these ridiculous hidden skulls, which probably are just there for smile purposes, nothing more, or trophy or achievements rather. But I shot for trying to get those. But it's a pretty fun game. It has a lot of Doom-style traps to them, too. You'll hit a switch, and some arbitrary wall off in the middle of nowhere will just start moving or whatever. Some areas, there's elevator sections where they try to kill you on the elevator, through sneaky commands, the walls will close in or flamethrowers will kick off. A lot of very interesting mechanics. And like I said, the game is just genuinely fun. It's not complicated. It's very straightforward. Take weapon, select weapon, kill dude with weapon. No crazy complications. The only thing I didn't like about the controls, though that's probably something they intended to work that way, was the jump button is the trigger. And at one point, a friend was like, did you try checking to see if you could change the controls? And I said, I never do that. I usually just stick with what they give you as default, because that's how I would think they intend for the game to be played that way. Yeah. I try to work with that first. But I went to the controls, and the only other option they give you is to change to the right. You can use the left stick to jump by clicking up, which I think I'd rather have the trigger at that point. Yeah. But overall, though, the game, you get used to it and you deal. And it's not the end of the world. It doesn't ruin the game. It's just one of the things you adapt to.
Yeah. So what do you think for $10?
At $10, I think it's worth the money. I think it's funny you mentioned that, because usually when you give me a game to review, I have no idea how much it costs. So your mentioning of how much it costs on the offset helps influence my try/buy version of the review. If it's cheap enough for what I like, I'm like, yeah, this is definitely worth the buy. Otherwise, I'm like, well, it's got certain issues, certain $20 issues. But I think it's definitely worth the buy. If you can handle gore in your games, and you want some quick, fast-paced gunplay, yeah, this is definitely legit and up your alley.
Awesome.
Vintage.
Sounds good. Next game to talk about, keeping with the twin stick aspect, is called Demon's Crystals. This one is developed by Byte4Games, published by BadLand Games, released May 12th on Xbox One and PS4 for $4.99. Demon's Crystals is a frenetic twin stick shooter where you guide the Urican demons through countless hazards in order to restore peace to the world. Variety of weapons and power-ups will help you defeat the massive enemy hordes. I think this is one that you would enjoy, Pernell, because it's a 4-player, wave-based, arena-based twin-stick shooter.
Yeah, I was actually wondering about this game, so I'm kind of glad you brought me on to listen to it, because I've been eyeballing the game on the store, and I'm like, what kind of game is this? Is it stages, as in you walk around trying to get from point A to point B, or is it arena-based where you're just thrown in a hub and you have to kill a bunch of dudes?
It is arena-based. There are 3 different worlds in the game. Each world has 3 stages and then a boss battle. Each of the stages has anywhere from 1 to 3 unique waves that you have to deal with. And there's technically 3 different wave types that you can deal with. One is kill X number of enemies in a certain amount of time. One is collect X number of crystals, just little crystal collectibles that you got to pick up, while still dealing with the enemies in X amount of time. And then both, where you have to kill a certain number of enemies and collect crystals. To make it easier, they litter the stages with various gun power-ups, whether they're giving you like a flamethrower or like a spread shot. They'll have like fan blades shooting forward and backward. Like there are crazy, crazy weapon types in this game. On top of that, they could also drop things like if you pick it up, you'll randomly drop dynamite for a few seconds, or you might grow in size and just instead of shooting, you run over, just walk over enemies, and you're invincible in this time.
So it's kind of like the giant version, like the giant power up in well, I guess not a power up, but the monster in Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Or you just grow like triple size and you run over enemies.
Beautiful.
Yeah. They even have like, you could get a dragon that runs around and kills enemies for you. And then they have red, green, and blue orbs that you could pick up. You know, like the options in Gradius where they'll just have like extra guns pop out. Mm-hmm. They'll give you like 2 extra guns for a set amount of time, and you can actually collect all 3 of them if the stage gives them to you, and have like you plus 6 extra guns shooting in all directions. It gets crazy, over the top, bullets flying everywhere. And then of course they'll drop things like time extenders or health power-ups, stuff like that, which you will need those in later stages. This game gets stupidly hard in some of the later stages where like you'll have to get 200 crystals and they'll give you a minute.
Damn.
So you have to keep an eye out for time extenders, and in those later stages, they could fuck with you too, because clearly games that drop power-ups, they're going to have negative power-ups as well, whether it's skulls that take health away, or like confusion potions, or the hourglass. If it's bright colored, that gives you time. If it's dark colored, it takes time.
I was about to ask that, do they have any powered downs in this game? And clearly they
motherfuckers.
Powered downs are the meanest. But I kind of like them too, because it makes you can't just run around and blindly pick up every little thing. You got to be on your P's and Q's. Yeah. Just like in the real world.
Overall, there's not a lot of depth to the game. Like, they have a story mode. The story mode has 3 different difficulties, but the difference in difficulties is standard, you can level up to level 90 as you go through, and you keep your level for each character, from stage to stage. On hard, they give you a set level that you are on that stage.
Oh, wow.
And then there's a 3rd difficulty, but I haven't messed with that one because I don't hate my life. It's called Nightmare Difficulty, so I don't know what that one is.
It's beautiful is what it is.
They also have a handful of different like multiplayer party modes of like whoever kills the most enemies in a certain amount of time, whoever collects the most crystals in so much time, just straight up deathmatch of you against the other players, no other monsters running around. They have a survival mode where they drop you in a stage and you just last as long as you can. And everything in the game could be played with 4 players. So I think this is something that you should keep an eye on, especially for only $5. It does get difficult in the end, and there isn't like a super amount of depth in it. Every stage is basically going to be twin stick, shoot everything, kill everything, survive till the end, hope you don't die. And then some boss battles.
Oh, I love the boss battles.
But for $5, this is just fuck it. Why not? It's $5. Buy this game. It's fun. It's enjoyable. And if you have a party going on, this will be a good time.
Oh, in that case, that sounds like something I'll be looking into in the future then for sure.
Indeed. And actually, right now, this week, as you're listening to this show, we are doing a giveaway for a handful of copies of the game. So check out our Twitter at the SML Podcast. Look for the post where I mentioned it. Here, spoiler, just email us at the smlpodcast@gmail.com. The SML Podcast. You can't forget the. Tell us why you want the game, and our favorite entries are going to win it. So,
all right.
There you go.
Sneak preview should be me.
Well, email us, and maybe you'll win one.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will. How about them apples?
I like apples. Now I'm hungry. But since we're talking about 4-player deathmatch style games, the final game that you're on to talk about is called Mayan Death Robots Arena, Developed and published by Sileni Studios, I hope I said that right, released May 19th on Xbox One for $6.99, duke it out with massive alien robots during the peak of the Mayan civilization. Nuke, zap, implode, incinerate, and destroy your friends in single-player or local multiplayer. Win the adoration of your tiny Mayan tribesmen and keep an eye out for the Mayan gods, not Mayan, Jesus, who will try and crash your party. Pernell, what did you think of Mayan Death Robots?
Such a weird vibe from this game that was required, because when I first brought it in, I thought of it as being like Worms. I'm not sure if you remember Worms from back in the day, but it was a style of game where you had little squirmy guys on the screen with sometimes randomly generated maps, other times they were pre-selected maps. You use various weapons. You could walk around and use various weapons to blow up the map and try to kill the other worms on the screen. So looking at this game, that was my first impression, and I invited some friends over to play this last weekend. They played for 2 rounds, and they didn't like the game. They were not digging it. He's like, I don't like this game. We're done. I was like, all right, well, that's fun. So I let it go at that point. But I played it by myself the day after for a little bit to see, okay, maybe there's something that wasn't really quite eked out of this game that they didn't get. And I can see some fun in this. Like, it's definitely not a bad game, but don't come into it thinking like I did, thinking originally going, this is totally Worms, but with giant guide robot people. So the way this game works is you have to initially choose from a different one. I guess they start you out with 6 robots, and each one has a default set of 2 weapons that have various traits to them. And then when you launch the weapon, it has you pretty much have 2 things to control. Either A, how like the direction or rather the arc of the weapon, as in do you want to shoot it straight out or do you want to shoot it at an arc and come down or whatever. And then the other aspect of the weapon is how far or close do you want the weapon to shoot. So you aim up, but then a little further, it's like you have like a slow arc, and you get the idea of that.
Yeah.
So the goal of this game, to my understanding from what I was playing, there's something called a core that spawns on every map. And it has like a hit point level of 100. And the goal is to destroy that core. Now, at the same time, there are also the guys who have their own hit points. And you can blow them up, but from what I could gather, you can't end the match by killing the guy. All you do is buy yourself a turn or 2 of free shots. So here are the other components of this game that factor in. So you can basically either select a weapon from your roulette, or you can select what would be considered, like Tetris block pieces, which can allow you to set up ramparts to defend your piece, like your core or your guy. You can also attempt to make it harder for the opponent to shoot from where they're standing. Now, the game isn't a complete dick. You can't just scroll over the top of the guy and just make blocks around them so they can't fire their gun. They give you a certain radius. I'm guessing, from what I could tell, it's a radius from where you're currently standing. So I guess if you're right next to the opponent, you could technically block them in. But then you're also right next to the guy, so you stand a risk of blocking your own shots out too. So you can either make it harder for the opponent to shoot, or you can make it harder for them to hit your core. Every couple of rounds, I'm not sure what triggers this either, but I know every couple of rounds a roulette wheel will spin, generating a new weapon that both characters have access to. So aside from your base loadout, you both have access to the same weapons. Which isn't a mean thing. I mean, it's not fair if the one guy gets like a freaking hyper rocket launcher and you get a banana peel. Which, funny enough, one of the characters does throw bananas.
Nice.
Which I love. I actually came to like the bananas.
It's that MS-DOS gorillas comeback.
It's all this way. I love it. So, now, where the Mayan... 2 other things I should mention, too. So, the Mayans, there's actually... You know how they said that the Mayans are worshipping these Mayan Death Robots or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There are actually Mayans running around each map. And
or Mayans, as I like to call them.
Hey, Mayans, I can go with any of them.
So mayonnaise Death Robots.
Very disgusting. I don't like vinegarized egg yolk or egg whites. I was never a fan of mayonnaise. I was a weird kid. But what I can tell they do, it depends on the map. Like some maps I've played, they've done absolutely nothing. Like just kind of walk around, being Mayans, being just annoying and in the way. But I played other maps where they will actually do things to try to assist you. Like on one map, they build catapults, and they will use the catapults to shoot towards the core. They'll arc rocks over, so you can try to blow up the opponent's catapults, or you can just ignore them and focus on your goal, which is to blow up the core. But if you decide you want to say, the hell with these Mayans, and just blow them up by killing the opposing team's Mayans. God damn it! You look what you did to me. I'm all flip-flopped out. Me a Mayan, who isn't it? Whatever. They're freaking. They are tribesmen. I'm going with tribesmen going forward. If you blow up the tribesmen, you increase a percentage on your screen, which allows your blast radius to increase. So by killing more tribesmen, you get larger explosions from your weapons, which in turn will allow you to do more damage to the opposing field and basically obviously just blow up more shit. If you also, one thing worth mentioning, which ties into this, in addition to firing guns and setting up ramparts, you can also attempt to make your guy jump to reposition him. You can't run anywhere, you can only jump. So set up a jump and you can land anywhere on the map. However, if you happen to land on the side of the opposing screen where there are actually tribesmen hanging out, they will attack your robot.
Oh, nice. So
you do not want to go too far over to the right or left, depending on where you spawn at, or they will dick you over royally.
Nice.
Now, I don't know what triggers it. I didn't realize what triggered it, but every once in a while, a Mayan god will appear on the screen. And what happens there is he attacks every fucking body. He doesn't give a crap who you are or what you did. He just wants a piece of the action. He tries to kill you. He gets his own hit point bar, and you can either A, try to ignore him and go for the goal, because obviously he's hurting the opponent too, so that could be your chance to shine. Or you can try to hopefully work together and kill the Mayan god before he kills both of you.
I think the one game of it that I was watching, because I haven't had time to play this one myself yet, but I have watched some games online, and there was like a dragon in the middle of the stage, flying back. Nice.
That was the one that got me too. Yeah, he flies around, and then he dives into the middle. He sticks his neck out, and he starts barfing rocks everywhere, or sometimes he'll barf them directly at you. Like one time he shot a shot where it was like a very small opening in the wall. He shot it through the damn opening and hit my monkey man. I was very pissed about that. Like, how the hell? I can't even get shots off like that. You're barfing at perfect trajectory. This is stupid. Sometimes he'll actually barf up, like, I guess it would be considered like the closest equivalent, like lava or like dried lava, which will create, blocks to hinder your shots either at him or at the opposing enemy. But ultimately, I took him down and then proceeded to finish the round by killing the opposing guy, too, because I'm just a beast like that. But this game went from being a game I thought was complete garbage with my own side, my friends, to thinking, this game has merit to it. It's all about how you come into it and what you expect.
And having good opponents as well, because if your friends aren't enjoying it, then you're not going to enjoy it.
This is very, very true. The one thing I will say I don't like about it, now maybe they'll either update this later or you just have to learn to deal with it in the game, is the fact that the screen is as it is when you start, as in the positioning of the map, the layout, the edge of the screen is all as it is. So if you want to say fire off an arc shot, because clearly aiming directly out is going to screw you over, if your arc goes off the screen, unless I was missing something, you get no indication of where this bad boy is going to land. You just have to know.
Oh, God.
So basically, you have to aim your shot and just hope that you're smart enough to guess where it's going to land at, because aside from once that cursor goes off the screen, you have no indication of where it's going to go.
Man.
I'm not sure if that was intentional or not. I mean, obviously, at least you both have to suffer. It's not like one guy does and you don't.
Yeah, true. And then the beauty of this is we mentioned that if you're not having a good time with your friends, the beauty is it also has online play.
Yes, it does. So, of course, as we know, in this day and age of gaming, it was the unfortunate side of it. For the online to kick off, we need to get more people on this bad boy. But that's not impossible. It is definitely doable.
True, especially because the game's not out yet. So when it releases this coming Friday, I believe, hopefully they'll have more people playing. Yeah,
I hope so, man, because it's got some potential to it. Like Like, I'm playing it right now while I'm talking to you, actually.
Nice.
And it was one of the things where, like I said, it started out being like, I'm not digging this game, and it became more like, this game has more merit to it than I gave it credit for. Like, it's definitely legit.
So overall, for $7, what do you think?
I want to go with a try it. Like, do like what you suggested earlier. Watch one video to watch how the gameplay works. Only because I don't want to tell somebody that, this game is awesome, because it's got some particulars to it that you have to kind of grasp for yourself. But I like the game. I personally would buy it, but you might want to watch a video just to be sure. And I'm sure there will be videos out there to watch. So
Indeed.
Just give it a quick perusal and just to make sure that it's up your alley. But I like it.
I dig the fact that it's like a mix of Worms, Tower Defense, and Tetris.
And I kind of want to play the old Rampart game, because I'm wondering if this has anything similar to that specifically. Because you remember it was an old game called Rampart back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm genuinely wondering how similar this is to that.
Well, that's your mission for next week. You could do that.
Bum, bum, bum. First find the game and then determine.
True. Well, Pernell, as always, it is fantastic having you on and talking games with us. I know you'll be back on again soon. Do you have any final words?
Just if you go to an arcade, call in advance, and then they're probably still lying to you, but hey, at least you have merit to cuss them out and get free bonuses.
Anyway. Next game to talk about is called Birthday's the Beginning, developed by Toybox Inc., published by NIS America, released May 9th on PS4 and Steam for $39.99. A garden game in which players create cube-shaped worlds that give rise to diverse and unique life forms. Shape the geography and alter the temperature of each world to create the conditions for life and witness the birth of an entire ecosystem. This game is created by the creator of the Harvest Moon games, and I know a good Harvest Moon fan when I see them. So we got Henry Jones on the case for this one. Henry, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Just getting wedding stuff squared away as usual. It's next month, so...
Next month? Man.
Yeah, I know.
You're growing up so fast.
The 35-year-old finally becoming an adult.
You're leveling up to marriage.
Yeah.
Your charisma stat was high enough. And, like...
I suppose so.
I'm sure most of my listeners have no idea what that in-joke is. But anyway, Tell me about Birthday the Beginnings.
So, as you said, it was developed by Yasuhiro Wada, who has worked on a heck of a lot of Harvest Moon, and he worked on No More Heroes and Deadly Premonition, I was surprised to find out.
Interesting.
Yeah, and not all of them were winners. He worked on the DS game, like Hometown. It was the store manager one that was kind of like Race Tier, but not nearly as good. It had a lot of really weird problems. Like, you'd think to advance to the game you have to do, store tending stuff. You have to sell things. No, the way to advance through the game is randomly queuing off cinematics that had nothing to do with running the store. So basically the main concept of the game was useless. If you didn't want to run the store, you didn't have to, I suppose.
Interesting.
So, but that's not so much the case here for Birthday's Beginning. It is what it says it is. It's a toy box developed by Toybox, which allows you to create life and allows you to build an ecology. And one little caveat for my review is I got this copy before its release date. There was a patch made after it. The patch, I didn't get to mess with it a whole lot, but it is extremely helpful from my personal experience playing it, because it lets you get free building. There are different modes you can play where the first one is story mode. This has a story to it. There is an objective mode where, okay, you have to make this specific animal in this specific situation. And then there's free mode, which just allows you to screw around and do whatever experiment and see what happens. This is more vital early on than you will realize. And they put before the patch, it took way too late for free mode to open up. And after the patch, it's just, after the basic tutorial level, it's open and you can experiment. So this is a lot more important because this is a game you can screw up very easily, very early on. This is a game where you think you can just like, you can let tens of thousands of years pass and, you know, it's not doing a whole lot. No, you can basically ruin your chances of getting past the points in story mode. For example, on the second mission right after the tutorial, the big thing is you have to create these offshoots of jellyfish as a requirement. So when you do that, the easiest thing to do is you need... how to explain this? Like, okay, because it's not that complicated when you're playing it, but when you're explaining it, it's very complicated. Like, you have to adjust the
one of those
texture.
games that makes sense once you get your hands on it, but trying to explain it to someone is just confusing as shit.
Like, you have to adjust the temperature, and how do you adjust the temperatures? By raising the elevation, lowering the elevation. And it's easy to understand because when you make the mountains, you see the top of the mountains and it gets cold, it gets blue. So you understand that that lowers the temperature. And then you lower it, the ocean, and then suddenly you get to the bottom and you can't go any farther because it flips to the lava flow and you see, oh, there's lava at the bottom, so that's why the temperature goes up every time you lower the elevation. So it's kind of like that when you... So early on in the game, you work... This is in Celsius, by the way, so...
oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no! Do they have a setting like options to switch it to Fahrenheit?
I forgot to check that, but I did have on my phone. I got an app to check to convert it. So you're at 24
Fuck you,
degrees
Americans.
Celsius. So you're at 24 degrees Celsius in the tutorial, and to get these creatures, you have to make it to 48 degrees Celsius, which is about 114 degrees Fahrenheit. So you have to essentially double the temperature, which is a lot of work. But if you're thinking, oh, they're still holding my hand, they're still telling me things, you may think it's not that hard, but then you wind up killing off the jellyfish, and then you have to go back and rebuild things all over again. So it's a deceivingly complicated game.
Yeah, because it's a very bright and colorful game that you would imagine could skew towards a younger audience, but it sounds like it's very complex deep down.
It's very complex. You have to know the food chain. You have to make sure you have every part of the food chain accounted for, and making sure there's not one side that's too much or not, which can get very complicated later on when you're trying to do more advanced things like get dinosaurs. And there is some, at least the graphics for the promotional material, because this is like Earthbound, where the art was made off of claymation, like the initial art, but the art in the game is less claymated. It's more video game. So, but you see when you enter it, there's this bright, colorful claymation dinosaurs, and it's like, oh, that's really cool. But it doesn't. The graphics don't get that good, and the graphics work. Everything's fine. It looks cool. It's a little bland at the beginning, but that's because you're dealing with this giant gray cube, and eventually you eventually you make rivers and mountains, and there's jellyfish and stuff. But you start with this gray cube, and it's not very. It takes a little bit to get into, and some people might not get into it at all. I had severe trouble because this is requires a little more attention than I'm used to, where if you're not micromanaging everything, you might have a problem, and the tutorial has a problem with this too. Basically, they tell you how to use items, and they tell you how to, the first thing to do is they tell you how to cheat and get ahead of yourself, like use items and evolve stuff, but they don't tell you how to manage things. You kind of have to learn that through trial and error, which can be troublesome. So, like I said, this has a story mode. It's not a very good story mode. You essentially find this book, and the book has a map, and it's like, hey, I know that place. So you go to the place, and suddenly you become this avatar, literally named Avatar, with bug eyes, who kind of looks like Ultraman. And I was reading up on Yasuhiro Wada's like little write-up on the website, and he loved the superhero stuff, so that's why he kind of designed it like that. So it does have a purpose, and you have this little helper named Navi, and yes, as by law, the Navi has a very annoying voice. Not a voice, it sounds like blah, 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 blah. So Navi talks a lot, and it guides you through, and you need... The thing is, yeah, you kind of get annoyed with the hand holding, because it tells you how to move, and it tells you how to, do things. It's like, okay, at this point I got it, but then you get from the first tutorial to the second tutorial, it's like, oh crap, I need to pay attention to that. I'm staring at this thing, and I am not realizing what I'm doing wrong here. So it looks deceptively simple, but you can screw up very easily, and you just got to take your time when you start off with it.
So if you have the patience to get into it and get past kind of a sluggish beginning, is it worth sticking out? Is it worth putting in the effort and getting to the good stuff in the game?
If you're a fan of Sim Life or Spore, I would give it a try it. It took me so long to start having fun with it. I don't think it was worth it for me, who I'm casually into these things. I mean, sometimes if there's one that, oh, this seems really cool, I'll check it out. And it was a little too advanced for me, and I think I was trying to figure out how it worked more than I was having fun with it.
Mm.
But I have seen reviews of people who are, this is my jam, I love this. This allows me to do so much, and they're liking it. So I would give it a try it if you're a fan and you're good at it.
So pretty much it's a niche game for a niche audience.
Yes, and also, like I said, my experience with it might be a lot different than yours, because they patched it and they improved it. Like there are a few things that were problematic before it got patched. Like there are two different modes. There's like the mode where you wander in through the world and see what's going on and just check what each it. And it's a big thing is monster collecting. Like you have to collect all the different race things you create, and you make a list. So it's like you got to catch them all, but you also have to play by the rules of whatever the story or the accomplishment you're trying to get is. So it's got a lot of facets to it, but when you went to first-person mode, the controlling was wonky. Like if you press forward, you go up, and you go up and down, and it wasn't very intuitive. The patch fixes that, and like I said, free mode is open, so it's a smoother experience and allows you to do a lot more than I was able to do when I got it before it was patched.
Nice. So it looks like they're improving things and trying to make it an overall better experience.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like a lot of fun. I thank you for checking this one out for us. If it gets patched more in the future and it significantly changes things, be sure to let us know and come back.
Oh, I should say one more thing. It's $40. So for the package itself, it might be a little too pricey for what they're offering. Because, Spore's been out for a few years. We have Sim Life years ago and Sim Earth decades ago. It hurts me to say that, because I remember playing it right when it came out on the Super Nintendo. But
we're old and dying, Henry. It's going to happen.
I know. But $40 is a little bit on the steep end unless you're a fan of this stuff. In that case, I'd say try it.
Any final words to wrap it up?
Sounds good.
All right, next game to talk about is called Super Rude Bear Resurrection, developed and published by Alex Verrey Games. It released May 2nd on PS4 and May 5th on Steam, with an Xbox release planned sometime eventually. Hooray for contracts. Rude Bear is a gangsta bear from East London who's been summoned back in time to medieval England to defeat his mortal nemesis, the Wizard. Face challenge is so lethal you'll probably need to be resurrected thousands of times to stand any chance of winning and defeat the fearsome guardians of each world. Our friend Tom Miller covered this one for us. Tom, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm recovering from playing this game, I guess.
Recovering from Rude Bear.
I'm doing all right, you know. So Joe, you kind of got my first impressions of this game in the form of a drunken rant on Facebook Messenger, and it kind of continued on that trajectory, though. Thankfully I was able to stay a little bit healthier than I was at that moment. I don't know. So it is a lot like Super Meat Boy in a way. It's just it's got that super tight level design where every other thing kills you. And I don't know. I haven't really played a game like that since Super Meat Boy. I guess the most recent one would probably be Mario Maker and all the ridiculous levels people make with that.
Yeah, there's some demented people out there with Mario Maker.
Oh my god. And if you like those levels, you will love this game. I can almost guarantee it. So it is, I don't know. It has that tightness to it, but at the same time, I don't know. I have a couple of complaints with it. Mainly, the controls are incredibly, the moment you press a button, you're just zooming at full speed. And it doesn't tell you this, but there is actually a button that slows you down that for some reason it doesn't take the time to mention.
Really? But, there is?
Yeah, it would be a right trigger for PS4, probably, or R2 or whatever. I didn't figure that out for a very long time. So I was just kind of catapulting between, one death to another for the first half of the game. But
see, because I've been putting some time into the game myself, and one of my biggest complaints is the fact that you move so goddamn quick in this game.
Oh yeah.
And I had no idea there was a more precision way to move.
Yeah, unfortunately, pretty much the exact moment that I figured that out is the moment when the game required you to start making super long jumps 100% of the time. So it was just kind of okay. But as I did get more used to it, I started having more fun with it for sure. I thought there were some pretty creative gimmicks. So the main gimmick of the game is when you die, your corpse stays in the level and you can use it as an object to either as a bullet shield, or you can use it as a platform to jump off of. And I don't know. I think that's pretty clever. There was a game that came out a few years ago called Life Goes On that had sort of a similar thing going on, except that was more
a really
puzzly.
Cool game.
Yeah. So I don't know. They made some really creative use of it. I do feel it kind of cheapened some of the difficulty. You have. I mean, there are some levels that are basically next to impossible if you don't do that, but completely trivial if you do, and it just feels a little bit unbalanced in that way. I don't know, but it's fun. It's it's a different take on the masochistic platformer, and I liked a lot of it. I think I don't know if I'd really recommend it unless you're super into these kind of games. If it's your first difficult platformer, maybe not, but if you do, it has a lot to offer for sure.
See, the thing I enjoyed about the game and the whole corpse staying behind thing is, even if you're bad at games like Super Meat Boy or even Super Rude Bear, those corpses help you beat the game. So it's not only for the masochistic psychopaths out there who are, there's going to be people out there who get those trophies for beating every stage without dying. There will be people out there who are that insane.
I cannot wait to see speedruns of this game. I think it'll be really fun to watch.
But for the people out there who suck at games like this, they can still enjoy the game and get through the game.
They have a chance.
It'll just take them a bit longer.
Sure. And I do suck at this, so there was one. I took a screenshot once where there's like a conveyor belt, and the entire thing is just like floor to floor with my corpses, and it's like finally I can get past this. I don't know. It's just.
My issue with the corpses is that sometimes they'll still move on you. So if you get impaled on spikes, the corpse might fall down, so you'll still die on those spikes again.
Yeah, it's not like a 100% solution. It's just kind of like a little help every once in a while.
Safety net.
Or a lot of help. Yeah.
For idiots like us who can't do this.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see what else. I think it generally looks really nice. A lot of the level backgrounds are really well done, and the main character is kind of hideous, but I think it's hideous on purpose. So,
well, he is super rude there.
Yeah. But that's all right. No, it's. I mean, the levels look pretty polished, and everything is solid. The music is a little like a lot of it is kind of obnoxious, I thought, but it's like a lot of like kind of grindy club music. One thing I did like about it though is I think they actually sampled people's reactions to dying as they were playing the game. I think there's like some nerd rage in the background of some of the tracks. I think there's one level where there's this guy, like British guy, yelling, "That's not funny," which I
didn't notice that.
That was, it's in like the very last area in the game. So, but I don't know. It definitely has a sense of humor, and when you do beat the game, you get a super funky jam. So that's nice.
You beat the game?
Yeah, I did actually just this afternoon.
Nice. How long is it? How many stages and worlds and?
So there are 7 worlds, and each one has, I think, 5 or 6 main levels and then a few bonus stages. So they're probably, I don't know, 60 to 70 levels altogether.
So there's a good amount of content in there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And the levels are pretty long, too. They're way longer than a lot of, like, Super Meat Boy would be. They have, like, multiple checkpoints and stuff. So it's got a lot of content to it, for sure.
Nice. I don't think I mentioned the price in my initial spiel, but for $14.99, what are your thoughts on the game? What kind of verdict would you give it?
So, I mean, like I was saying earlier, if you are a big fan of games like this, of games in this genre, I think it'd be worth it. If not, I do think, take a look at it. You might want to wait till it's on sale, but I do think it does have plenty of good moments to it, and it's worth putting up with the general frustration, depending on who you are. I've seen a lot of negative reviews of it too, but I don't know. I enjoyed it, generally speaking.
Nice. I look forward to the day that this is on like an AGDQ or something like that, just to see someone obliterate the game.
Or, somebody makes a TAS of it and just, Oh,
God, a TAS of this would be crazy.
Just any form of this game just being completely destroyed, so I can, vicariously exact revenge on it.
All right, sounds good. Do you have any final words to sum up the review?
No, I think we got it. I think we got it pretty well covered there.
All right, next game to talk about is, you know what? We could go into the game in a bit, but first up, the person reviewing this one, making their long-awaited return to the show, Kris Huber, welcome back.
What's up, buddy?
I am so excited that you're doing something with the show.
I'm doing something. You're excited that I'm still alive, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, that's part of it. Dude, I miss having you on. It's not the same without you.
I know. I'm sorry. It's just life and bullshit and work and yeah.
Like, just for comparison, the amount of time it took on our Skype call to just lead up to this, our Skype call's already been going for 20 minutes, And
Well, that's also because I haven't been
introduced
keeping you updated as to what I'm doing. So I felt.
What have you been doing? What has Kris Huber been up to since abandoning me on this show?
Music, a lot of music. Identity crises. Yeah, just work. Honestly, just a lot of work. Trying to do more music stuff, do home recording stuff, and focusing on that a little bit more, just to try and like hopefully build up to a studio, and working on a lot of live tracks for the vendors, and working on acoustic stuff to get more gigs so that I can afford, a place and not like living with other people again, because it's like something that I'd need for myself.
Yeah, do something to get out on your own and leave the benders and return to the show.
Yeah, honestly, like it sounds stupid, but it's one of those things that like I need to be able to afford to have that type of time to just do the shit that I want to. And right now it's tough. I'm in survival crunch mode. So like right now I was mentioning to you, since we're recording now, I'll just mention quick for the people listening, but I'm working on an EP that will hopefully help fund me getting a newer vehicle instead of constantly buying used piece of shit to used piece of shit to used piece of shit. So it's a cover EP of a bunch of songs that are specifically car related, and yeah, I'll try and make an appearance on here if you really want me to pimp it out once I'm actually done with it, hopefully soon.
To hype up your album release.
Yeah. But that's pretty much all I've been working on, just focusing a lot on that, just to get myself, a little bit more self-sufficient,
True. Well, at least you made a couple of minutes to set aside to come on the show and handle a review for us. Are you excited about this?
Yeah, I am, man. I've been like wanting to play something that's not my regular rotation again. Because like how it was when I was constantly on the show. It's like, oh, Kris, what were you playing? Diablo. Are you surprised?
Diablo and Hearthstone and Overwatch.
And yeah, and Rocket League. So it's like, all right, I took Hearthstone out of it. I don't play Hearthstone anymore. I just straight up cold turkeyed it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of like the RNG factor of it. Like it's, it became not so much a skill-based thing and more so like a let's flip a coin and see who wins this time.
Oh God.
And it's like, I'm out. I'm done with that.
Are you still balls deep in For Honor?
I play it once in a while. There's this update that I guess is coming out today, I think, right?
I have no idea. I haven't kept up with the game at all.
You're really not missing anything. I stopped playing it completely for a while. I think the last time that I was on the show, I was mentioning about playing it, right?
Oh, I know you were playing it like when you were on your way from leaving the show, because you'd be like, oh, I have practice and I can't make the show. And I start the recording and I see Croth1134 has now started playing For Honor. Like, you motherfucker.
I would start playing and then like we would end up having rehearsal and I would just leave it up. Like, I just
dick. You dick.
So it looks like I do that a lot with a lot of my Steam games, so it looks like I've played it more than I actually have.
You dick.
like it's just so it looks more impressive. Yeah. I used to do that shit in Counter-Strike a lot when I was younger, and it just kind of like spilled over to my adult life.
You're a dick.
But
anyway, completely unrelated to For Honor, you've been playing the game STRAFE.
Yes.
Developed by Pixel Titans, published by Devolver Digital. This one released May 9th on PS4 and Steam for $19.99. STRAFE is the fastest, bloodiest, deadliest, most adjective-abusing...
Yeah, there's some humor in it. We'll talk about that.
I didn't read this beforehand. Most adjective-abusing, action-packed first-person shooter of 1996, featuring breathtaking photorealistic graphics and persistent gore that allows you to paint levels red with the excessive entrails of your enemies. Kris, what the hell is STRAFE?
All right, so the the description doesn't really necessarily give you the whole spectrum as to what this game is actually about. So it does mention, yes, 96. So think more so like DOS-based first-person shooter. We're talking like Rise of the Triad, Doom, Quake.
Wolfenstein era?
Wolfenstein, yeah.
After like Wolfenstein?
Yeah. So it visually, it is more pixelated, so it kind of has like a retro-y, like, lack of a better way of putting it, Minecraft-y type of, visual. However, and it plays like the old school, like, first-person, like, Twitch-based first-person shooter games, but it's procedurally generated each time. So, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing in that you can play it a bunch of times and it doesn't get old. However, a bad thing that, like, it's not fully optimized in the way that it generates some of the levels, so that, like, there'll be certain areas that you just go into and you just get absolutely ambushed. There's nothing you could do about it and you're dead.
Oh, God.
But, I mean, I told you this before we actually even started recording, is that, yeah, there are parts that can get frustrating in that, and the difficulty curve is really high on this. Like, it took me a while for me to even complete, like, the first 2 or 3, like, stages. And I think it took me a while to even actually complete the second one. I had to do multiple playthroughs just to get through to that.
Jeez.
Yeah, it can get, but again, that I think that kind of goes hand in hand with the procedurally generated thing. I don't think it's necessarily like 100% a fault of the design. There are certain enemies as well that are like kind of cheap in my opinion. Like there's one that's kind of this, it almost looks like a vent on the wall, but it spits out these like orange stars that come at you that just like spill a bunch of acid onto the floor. And it does a shit ton of damage, just a shit ton of damage. And you can kill them, but then they just explode and then there's a ton of acid on the floor. So there's certain enemies that could just be a little bit cheaper and just a little bit more like frustrating than others. But I think the overall like gameplay loop of like you run in, try and figure out this map of this procedurally generated area in a first-person shooter type setting. You pick one of 3 weapons when you're starting out each run. It's a shotgun, a machine gun, and a rail launcher or railgun.
Oh, nice.
Each one has an alternate fire where, like, the shotgun, if you use the alternate fire, it shoots out like a kind of like a grenade that's like a scatter shot, but it uses up the majority of the ammo in the gun, and then you would have to reload. The reload is also kind of like weird in certain spots because like the shotgun you can just kind of like shoot away. I think there's like you start with like 6 rounds, 6 shells. You reload once, it'll reload all of them. For certain guns, it gets like the reload's almost a little bit too long for the damage output that you need to like survive in certain areas. There are ways that you can upgrade the weapon to do different types of damage. Like the one playthrough that I had recently, and this was the furthest that I've gotten, and it might have just been from getting this upgrade, was I was using a shotgun, and one of the upgrades is that like the pellets will keep going. So like if you hit, like if you shoot and it hits an enemy, it could potentially go through that enemy and hit the one behind them. So when you would get into these really huge crowded areas, you could just pop off like a bunch of shotgun shots and it would essentially just level whatever was in front of you, and it works out perfectly. But again, like the difficulty curve is really high, so you end up taking a lot of damage. You don't find a lot of like, so the resource that you're primarily gathering is scrap. And you gain that just from killing enemies, and you just pick that up passively from the ones that you kill. You don't find a lot of it, and you use that to purchase armor and ammo through the course of the level. you'll find like a vending machine basically that'll spit it out for you.
Yeah.
But you don't find a lot. So, like, if you hit one of those corridors where you just take a shit ton of damage, you're basically gimped through the rest of the stage to just go insanely slow to hopefully not die. There'll be a lot of spots too that are like a la older like first-person shooters where like you enter a room and even though it was clear before then, if you proceed to the next part of the room, like a fake wall will end up like, you know, showing it, revealing itself, and then like enemies will pour out of like this little room that you didn't know existed. So you'll end up getting like overrun from behind without knowing.
Yeah.
So, like, you do have to be very strategic about it. But I mean, overall, it's not like it's relatively cheap, right? It wasn't that. It was what, like $20?
It is $19.99. Yes.
Yeah. So, like, one thing is that they've already did 3 patches, I think, since the game got released, and it's only been like a week.
Yeah,
right?
I was looking on Steam. I like how their humor even goes with the patches, where they have patch 1, which, you know, expected, and then patch 2, the patching, and then patch 3, attack of the patch.
Yeah, like, and then the way that you do the tutorial in the beginning is they have this like, it looks like it's almost like recovered VHS footage kind of thing. And it's this chick in a lab coat that's basically like, all right, here's what you got to do. And all right, we never saw like levels like this before. Like, you're definitely going to do really like it's kind of like that really cheesy 80s kind of action setup, like, and some of the ways that they do the tutorial and some of the like tongue-in-cheek humor that they'll toss in every once in a while is like really, really neat. There were some other like Easter eggs in the game that, like, I don't know if they're just randomly generated or you have to like meet certain criteria for them to happen. But there's a super hot gun where, like, when you pick the gun up, like the game essentially turns into super hot, where like the enemies only move when you move.
Oh shit!
And you'll fire it, like, so. There are some little things that they sneak in here and there, which, like, that has actually been the thing that has kept the replayability for me, because a lot of the levels start to kind of end up looking the same after a while, the way that they're procedurally generated, and it can get like kind of frustrating. Like, you're kind of used to that style of thing, but then once you hit like one of these power-ups that you haven't seen before, or like one of these guns that you haven't seen before, or whatnot, like, that's what keeps you wanting to play it more so than like the actual gaming experience itself, if that makes sense. Like and again, like, because they're updating it and they're patching it, like, a lot of this stuff could potentially be fixed and get that much better.
Like, what,
I still don't
what
think
would you fix to make this a better game?
One is probably just the way that some of the levels are generated. Like, it's just like there's certain areas that you pop into and you're just blindsided and there's nothing you can do. That, it was probably going to be one of the harder things for them to overcome. But it's possible. It's not like, you know, we've seen plenty of modern games that can do that, and that, you know, it is achievable. I think some of the way that some of the weapons behave off the bat, and some of the way that some of the enemies behave off the bat, like especially that, like, the funnily tube-looking thing that's on the wall that spits out a bunch of acid, like, fuck that thing in particular. Especially that thing.
Fuck that thing in particular.
I guess some of the ways that you salvaged the scrap too, like, or at least the frequency of it. I don't know. It's really just a balancing thing. It's not necessarily a bad game, and trust me, like, I haven't seen everything of it so far.
No.
I absolutely think that for $20, I think this is definitely, I would say, a try it. If not, if you're really into like first-person shooters and you want something different to like break the monotony of your regular rotation, like me, I would consider buying it.
I would call it a palate cleanser, but I don't know if a game this bloody could be a palate cleanser.
Well, see, now, because it's pixelated, it's like, yes, you'll shoot off an enemy's head and it'll just like start spurting out like a shit ton of blood, but it's pixelated. Like, it's just it has that kind of almost like, I don't want to say cartoonish, but it's just because it's presented in a more like old school type of retro feel, it doesn't feel that like overwhelming when that happens. No. You know what I mean? It's more like I feel like it ties to the authenticity of it trying to be more like an older first person shooter, because that's exactly what happened when you shot an enemy.
No.
It's like let's try and see how much instagib we could flash on this screen. You know what I mean? Like, and I appreciate that. And then even the soundtrack is actually pretty good, although albeit relatively limited from what I've heard so far, just because, you know, I haven't made it that far into the game because I guess I fucking suck. But from what I've heard, it is very catchy. It's kind of like that. It's got like an electronic. I don't want to say Game Boy-esque, but it's got like that retro-y, you know, synthy type of vibe, and it's catchy. So
I really want to check this game out myself. I'm super bummed that it's not on Xbox, but maybe it'll either eventually make it or I'll eventually grab it on PS4 or something.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's definitely something that can be a good, like, maybe palate cleanser isn't the best thing, but it's just something to break the monotony of the same, like I said, like the same rotation.
Yeah.
It's nice to see first-person shooters in that type of slot as opposed to here's another platformer or here's, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So that's kind of why I was drawn to it, you know?
Makes sense. Well, Kris, thank you so much for doing that review. I don't want to chase you off yet because you're the only one I could really talk to about Rock Band stuff anymore.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, like I said, if you want to like go over a couple news things before I take off, I'm down.
Have you kept up with any of the Rock Band stuff going on?
Other than the fact that the releases have kind of slowed down, from my understanding, not much.
Yeah, they're dropping like 1 or 2 songs a week anymore, which is kind of a bummer. But you know, people were thinking, oh well, maybe they're winding down on the game again. Some news came out that they're apparently ramping up with the game. They are introducing, with the newest patch coming out soon, seasons for rivals.
So kind of almost like the ladders in Diablo and stuff?
Well, they you know, you're going to be ranked in the seasons based on how well you do, and at the end of it all, they're going to have rewards, like in-game shirts and gear and stuff like that you could win only by doing the rival stuff.
That's pretty cool.
And then they're also adding missions to the game.
Oh, like dailies? That's kind of cool.
Well, it's like single player stuff where it's like, you know, get X number of unison bonuses on so many songs, or like hit I'm trying to look at the site here, like hit 250 notes in overdrive in a single song, or get gold stars on a handful of Devil Tier songs. Just, do you remember in Rock Band 3 where they kept track of all the achievements and stuff, how they had like a separate page? It looks kind of like that. That's cool.
I liked like that added a little bit of extra longevity to the game for me, because it was like, oh, like hit the solos in these songs like at least like this difficulty, and then it would say like, oh well, you completed this song, you still have to do this one. Like I liked that. That was cool.
Yeah, it says going into the mission screen will show all the missions available to you. Each mission will give you a set number of mission points when completed, along with a nifty badge, and additional missions are locked and hidden until you hit thresholds. Some missions will refresh weekly with rivals challenges, like having your crew fill every instrument on a song with a 5-star score. Others will be included with the update. Future missions will be delivered via server updates, so we'll be able to send more goals your way without the need to patch the game, which is pretty cool.
That's a much better way of going about it.
Yeah. You might find yourself completing a mission or two through regular gameplay, but if you want to specifically tackle a mission that's focused on specific songs, you can select that mission, and it'll take you to your library pre-filtered.
Cool.
Which is
awesome.
Pretty damn awesome. So if you're not a Rivals player, which I know you haven't really fucked with at all, this seems like an awesome way to get you more involved in a single player way.
That's cool. See, like, and that's the thing. Most of the time, I find myself as much as I like the Rivals idea, a lot of the times I find myself wanting to play Rock Band in the weirdest times, like by myself. So doing like single player mission kind of stuff is definitely something I'm more interested in. I still haven't messed around with the online play much. We played a couple things, right?
We should play.
Yeah, totally.
Did you hear what my library has come to?
Dude, I'm sure your library is outrageous. Mine
I do not have Bob Marley Pack 01.
That's it?
And that's it.
Holy shit, dude!
And then
that's
5
crazy.
songs that have been delisted and I can never get.
Damn, man, that's nuts.
Yeah. Plus, they have started making progress on delisted songs coming back. Not to purchase, just if you've already bought them in the past.
Yeah.
Like songs that were previously available in Rock Band 4 but got delisted since release, you can now re-download properly without any issues. At least on Xbox One, the Red Hot Chili Pepper songs, the majority have come back. They're having some mapping issues with like 2 or 3 of the songs that are like you go to one and it leads you to the other and it's like a loop. Metallica is back, so the Metallica 3-pack, if you bought it, is available to play.
Cool. I had
some
that.
System of a Down songs, Silver Sun Pickups Panic Switch, which I'm fucking thrilled about. I love that song. Like I when the news hit, I went to my ready to install and there were like 23 songs waiting for me.
That's a good day for you.
Yeah, and then just today, the Rock Band companion app on mobile was updated with some massive improvements, including your entire song library on your phone.
That's pretty cool.
So if you're having a party and people want to know, hey, what songs do you have? Well, here's my library.
That makes things a lot easier too. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. That's cool. I mean, I didn't think that would be something that I would find that interesting, but yeah,
Yet for some reason, like, it's still fucked up for mine. Like, I could go to my song list and it shows, like, sort by source, filter to, let me go back here, downloaded songs, and it shows 1,911 songs downloaded.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go to my stats, owned songs, 89. Like,
okay, sure.
So something is still fucked up somewhere along the line, but it shows all my stuff there. So I have a problem.
I mean, listen, with a catalog quite like yourself, I would be hard pressed to find. I don't even think they should just be contacting you to test the shit for them, right? Because I don't even know if anybody on the team has the whole library. You might be one of the only people.
I know Derek has a high number of songs, but I've been on online and it allows you to like compare libraries, and my library is bigger than his. So there's stuff he doesn't have that I do. And there's like 3 songs that he has that I don't, which are probably delisted stuff. I knew I should have bought those Naked Brothers band songs.
Oh yeah, you're really missing out on that one.
Oh, dude, it pains me knowing that there's 5 songs I missed.
Whatever.
Die Toten Hosen, Air Comet Alex, Fleetwood Mac, World Turning. Like, how did I miss that?
You missed it.
The 2 songs from the Naked Brothers Band, and then Sweet Billy Pilgrim, Future Perfect Tense. Those are the 5 songs that I missed that I can never get. 5.
Well, I think you're doing pretty good.
And then Bob Marley Pack 1, but I don't want to pay $14 for fucking Bob Marley songs.
Yeah, especially considering, like, and not to be, insensitive, but out of those songs, maybe 3 of them probably sound different. Or 4 of them.
Yeah, because they're all just going to be...
Yeah, exactly. So now we need to make that into a ska song.
There, you could sample that and then use me. And put it on your EP.
Jesus.
So yeah, my library's sitting at 2343. What do you think of that?
That's awesome, dude.
So you got to visit and we got to play.
Yeah, if I have a working vehicle, I would totally come up and visit.
But anyway, I guess we'll wrap this one up. So thank you, Kris, so much for coming on and doing this.
Absolutely.
You have to come back more often. You didn't show up in April. You said you'd show up once a month.
I know. I fucked
you
up.
You motherfucker.
I know. I fucked up.
You're bailing to play For Honor. And then
which was a poor decision. And again, I was probably still practicing. I just left it open.
On the upside, I'm happy about the fact that you quit the show and you came back on and have stayed in touch with me.
Well, yeah, I mean,
the last guy who did that.
No, dude. Like I said before, I just, I have to, make some sacrifices here and there as far as like, where I allow my little bit of time, and I just need to get a lot more work done as far as like doing some audio shit and getting myself set up so that I'm not always like having to depend on other people all the time. So,
no.
It's tough. Yeah, it wasn't necessarily a decision that I was happy about making, but when I do have some time, I will obviously come back and try and do some things when I can. So,
well, hope it's more often.
Yeah, I will. I would like to try and at least like I'll bring it down to like a month, at least once a month at the minimum.
I'm gonna find some way to get you on for 300. I don't give a shit if you have to Skype in during a concert.
Is that, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure they would mind.
I mean, you could just do like when you did the Facebook Live of you just drumming.
Oh, so I've been looking up how to do that a little bit better too, because I'm eligible for an upgrade through my phone carrier. So I might try and like figure out a way to have like a mobile ready like production rig, so that even if I'm on the road, I could potentially like have good sounding audio and could phone some shit in or something.
That'd be cool.
I'm working on it. I'm figuring it out.
Nice.
Roland Go mixer is what I was looking at.
Interesting.
Yep. It's like $100. Pretty inexpensive, but
cool. Well, do you have any final words to sum up your review that we haven't mentioned in 10 minutes?
If you need a first-person shooter that's not Overwatch or Counter-Strike or all of the other first-person shooters that you're probably used to playing on a regular basis, and you need something different, give it a shot.
All right, and finally tonight, joined by our good friend Cole Martin. Welcome back to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, thank you.
You're here to talk about 2 games, so I figured I would introduce you before the games, because it makes sense that way.
Making sense are hard.
I know. But first game that you're here to talk about is called Narcosis, developed and published by Honor Code. It released May 10th on Xbox One for $19.99, previously available on Steam, and, quote, additional platforms are to follow. Survival horror at the sunless depths of the Pacific Ocean. Stranded on the seafloor with low light and few tools, an industrial diver takes desperate steps to surface before his oxygen and sanity give out. We didn't cover this one, but we did an interview for this one on the last episode, and if you missed that, you should check this out. But for now, Cole, tell us about the game.
I love this game. This is the kind of game that just makes me happy to play, because even though it will emotionally fuck you at the end, you still just like the whole thing just leaves you going, wow, that was satisfying. You know?
Yeah.
And Narcosis, it doesn't hesitate to be... I can't talk today. I hear you laughing at me. Narcosis doesn't hesitate to just be a satisfying experience. The only thing you can even complain a little bit about is that you walk stupid slow.
Yeah.
But to be fair, your character is in what's called a walking coffin, which is this just huge electronic tank-like suit, so that you can walk underwater and survive underwater for an extended period of time.
I mean, you're not supposed to be able to sprint in that.
Right, yeah. I mean, it makes sense within the confines of the game to walk slowly. It can still get a little frustrating, especially because there's some parts that actually require a little bit of platforming to get across. And you can find yourself doing those 2 or 3 times if you're not careful. And then if you fail, of course, you've lost oxygen while you were trying to accomplish the platforming aspect. You've got to go and find you another tank somewhere and then come back and try it again and hope you get it right this time. So it can be a little tough that you move so slow for a few of the scenes, but overall it doesn't really negatively affect the game in any way, and it makes sense within the confines. And you do have thrusters, so you can still propel yourself for little short bursts, and they come back pretty quickly. So it's not a giant issue as far as the game goes.
Yeah,
it's not anything to be mad about. Story, you pretty much covered it without giving away the ending there. You're a diver that is underwater, and you are out on a walking mission where you're exploring and getting data and doing what you're supposed to do as a diver. And there is an event. There is an earthquake, and the earthquake comes unexpectedly, as earthquakes are wont to do. and it destroys your hub, where your base, where your housing is, and it's your goal to get back to your base and find your coworkers.
Your mission is to GTFO.
Exactly. You just want to get out. You want to get back to the surface where everything is nice and sunshiny and you're not going to run out of air. As far as complicating that mission goes, you do run out of air, and you will run out of it quickly, and you will panic, and when you are panicking, you will run out even faster. So you have to kind of judge where you're going to go. Obviously, given that there is an earthquake underground and you are in the water and there's a hub, some of your coworkers are not going to make it.
Including Hammy.
Poor Hammy! Hammy doesn't make it either. If you miss the rest of the show, you need to go check that out and find out why we're upset about Hammy. Nice plug, yeah? I'm getting good at this.
Well, I don't want to go too in-depth with the story since we tackled a lot of that stuff on the last episode. So what kind of gripes did you have about the game? I know personally the tank controls were...
You struggled with controls.
Yeah.
The controls didn't bother me. Like I said, there were only a couple of points where, you platform and you have to get, specifically, you've got to get over to a catwalk type area. And it's hard to judge because you are consciously aware you are in this big giant suit. And it's hard to judge in the game where you're going to end up at when you use your thrusters, because the lower portion of your vision is cut off with your HUD, which would be, your visor and everything. If you had the helmet on in real life, you would lose that part of your field of vision, and you do in the game as well. And that's where, your oxygen levels and your thrusts and your flares are all located at.
Yeah,
and
unlike a lot of first-person games, you can't see your feet in this game.
Yeah, you can't see nothing down low. You look down, you're just getting more of that HUD. And if you don't turn left or right the right kind of way, then you're just getting a big face full of HUD, and you will lose your feel. It's realistic, but it can be a struggle to get used to.
Yeah.
Same
I was with the controls for me. So.
Yeah, I was lucky. I picked them up pretty quick, and I was kind of surprised because you've heard my complaints about questionable controls in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have any problems with it, as luck would have it. I did incredibly well, but I did have to redo some of the platforming stuff 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, some of the platforming can get tricky, that's for sure.
Yeah, especially toward the end when you're really trying to navigate, where it's crushed or things are poked up here and there. It's surprisingly difficult. I don't know if maybe surprising is the right word. It was more difficult than I would have expected the game as a whole to be.
Yeah.
Because you start off and you're like, this is fine. I'm walking everywhere underwater. You think the worst you got to worry about are the fish getting in your face, but...
I think the only other negative I could give this game is that once you beat it, there's really no replayability to it. You could go back and try finding, the ID tags or goofy collectibles here and there, but for the most part...
There's a couple collectibles. Yeah. And then, unless you want to go looking for the Easter eggs that the developers were talking about.
Which, again, go listen to that last episode.
Yes, but you're done. That's one thing. And for a $20 price tag, it's kind of hard to choke on that. When you start getting in the $20 range, you want some kind of replayability.
So, what are your thoughts for $20? What kind of verdict do you give it?
Buy it. I loved it. I thought it was great. I really had a good time with it. The twist ending was emotional. I'm still stuck on it. Like, I can't believe that's the way it happened. So.
I legitimately had a dream about the game the other night.
I keep just randomly hearing the voice in my head, like narrating my day-to-day now.
I don't know. Get in touch with Jeff. Maybe he'll just narrate a day for you.
Can we just narrate my day? Here's Eternal sitting in her natural habitat, just typing on a keyboard.
Yeah. But yes, I agree. Narcosis is an amazing experience. I think the cost is going to turn some people off, but if you've got the money, it's definitely worth playing.
Absolutely. It does what it's supposed to do, and it does it very well.
Indeed. Anyway, finally, Dreamfall Chapters, developed by Red Thread Games, published by Deep Silver, released May 5th on Xbox One and PS4 for $29.99. Dreamfall Chapters is a story about choices and consequences, dreams and reality, magic and science, chaos and order, and the broken heroes whose actions will shape the course of history in all worlds. This sounds epic as fuck. Tell me about it.
It is epic. It's actually part of the Longest Journey series, which has its drawbacks because if you haven't played any of the other games, you're lost as fuck. And so, therefore, I was lost as fuck.
Nice.
There are some efforts to explain what's been going on in the little prologue section, but there's still just a lot of stuff that doesn't really make any sense to me, and I'm pretty sure that not having played the previous parts of the game series is what's affecting me there. You play as 2 characters. I'm going to butcher their names. Well, Zoe, I can say, but I'm pretty sure the other one is Kian, if I'm not butchering that. And you play 2 parallel worlds. One is more fantasy-based and magical, and the other is more of a cyberpunk future dystopia.
Nice.
You play each chapter as though it's a life stage, if you will. So your chapter 1 is your rebirth, and you will actually walk that character through to their death in a certain stage of their life cycle, and they will die. And then the next chapter is they've come back as themselves somewhere in the future.
Oh my God, they're zombies.
Yeah. More like reincarnation.
Oh.
But basically all the characters just loop through this circle of birth and growing and adulthood and death and rebirth, and it just continues in this loop for all of the characters. There are some mystical elements. You know, like I said, there are parallel worlds. One's more fantasy-based, one's more futuristic cyberpunk. But overall, the game kind of just tries to do too much at once. Where you have the two parallel characters in the parallel worlds, and it just gets overwhelming to keep track of what's going on where. And on top of all that, the story's trying to throw in, you know, there's some social commentary, and there's drama here, and there's this there, and by the end you're just like, you're not really doing any one thing well. It's a little frustrating. Like, if it dialed it back in some sections, it would just do better, if that makes sense. If it just focused on like one type of gameplay instead of trying to just be everything all in one game.
So like a jack of all trades, master of none.
Yes, like me. But yeah, it's frustrating. One of the things that bothered me is that the worlds are actually open, but they're easy to get lost in. There's not a lot of, okay, we're going here to do this. Okay, we're going there to do that. Let's progress the story by going this way. And the map is just terrible. It's completely nondescript. It doesn't help you in any way. It's like, oh, there's a target circle over there. I don't know where over there is. I'm going to walk there. And then you walk there and you walk, oh, here's another game where you walk crazy slow. And this one has no excuse for it. So you walk crazy slow. Takes you a good 3 minutes to get to your destination. You get to where the target is on the map, and you look around and you're like, okay, now what? And there won't be anything there for what you're supposed to do. So it doesn't make any sense. Like, I would stand there for 5 or 6 minutes and just be like, well, okay, I don't see shit. So if you are going to play it, play with a guide. Normally when I'm reviewing a game, I have a rule that I don't play with a guide because I want to be honest and be like, this was my experience. I couldn't do this without a guide. I just sat there like an idiot after I got past the prologue, like, okay, now what? And I had to use a guide just to get to where I did. And one of the reasons for that is because some of the puzzle solving that you have to do to progress is really unintuitive. Like, you have to pick up a broom, pick up a pillow, stick them out the window, catch an arrow, then pick up a napkin on the second floor, wrap the napkin around the arrow, and touch it to a lantern to light it. And the whole time I thought, why didn't we just put the broom to the flame and make a torch out of that? Why did we do all this other stuff? So if you're the kind of person who overthinks puzzles, you're going to love this. Because all the puzzles require some serious overthinking. If you're an Occam's razor kind of person who just is like, the straightest, path is the right answer, no, that's not going to work for you in Dreamfall chapters. Otherwise, if you can get past the slow walking and have a guide tell you where you go, it's actually pretty fun. And it sounds like I'm being harsh on it because I had a few issues, but it's not particularly bad. It's just not as good as it could have been.
Mm. So for the $30, what kind of verdict would you give it? Is there enough content to justify that price?
Yes. There's just stupid. Well, because you have to do 27 steps to solve any one puzzle. And you're going to stand around for a couple hours being lost. But realistically, I'd be rough. But realistically, there is a ton here. There are 5 chapters in all. And you're going to spend a couple hours on each one, most likely. So for the $30, I would at least say try it if this is your kind of game. But be aware that it's not going to knock your socks off. The beginning chapters set up a lot of tension and intrigue that the final chapters can't quite deliver on.
I hear you. But overall, it sounds like if you're a fan of like old school point and click adventure games where like they don't hold your hand, you'd enjoy this one.
Yeah. And if you've played the series, this is probably the best you could get as far as winding up that series goes, from what I understand of the events I had to look up that come prior to where this game starts. It's probably a suitable ending as far as fans of the series go would consider it. But I mean, like I said, I was just horribly lost. So I am sorry. But
it was enjoyable. So
it was like when I was using the guide and I could actually get somewhere and I knew what I was doing, I had fun. I was intrigued. I wanted to know what was going on. It was just, I felt I was lacking in more information and a little more hand holding. No. And that's just unfortunately the kind of player that I am. So that's my own all good. Hitch. Yeah, sometimes you have your own hitch that comes up and you can't do anything about it. So I get lost. I have no sense of direction. You could say go left and I'm a spin in circles for 3 minutes. I mean, it's just
hey, whatever thing works. That happens.
But eventually an arrow will show up on the ground and point me the right way. Nice. But in this one, it just doesn't. And one of the reasons that you get lost so easily, especially in the cyberpunk futuristic world, is that everything, there's like signs and stuff on all the buildings, but they're all just tall gray buildings. And you're kind of like, okay, that's one tall gray building with a garage door. That's one tall gray building with a green door. If I keep walking, eventually I'll find the one with a pink door. Nice. You know? And if not, I'll turn around and do it again.
Just draw a map. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, you draw one that's better than what the game gives you.
Well, anyway, thank you so much, as usual, for handling those games for us. People, stick around. We're going to take a little quick break, and then I will be back with Alex Verrey of LucidSound, and that was a nice, fun interview that we had. Hopefully we'll get him back on again in the future. But, Cole, do you have any final words to wrap this up?
No.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for hanging around. My guest at this time, calling in from the UK. Normally, I would say what company you're from, but you wear so many different hats that it's hard to introduce you properly. But Alex Verrey, how are you doing today?
I am doing very good, thanks, Joe. Not so bad at all. Thanks for having me.
I guess officially you're here for LucidSound, but you are like in how many different companies you're working with?
I've lost track. So I guess officially I have a PR agency based here in the UK called Little Big PR. You can go check us out, littlebigpr.com. It's a new agency. Before that, I had another PR agency called bigboypr.com, and I have multiple clients. So I specialize in video games, video game events, and video game hardware. So we have LucidSound. Those guys are amazing, the world's best gaming headsets. Then we have Snakebite. So they do a whole bunch of really cool accessories, RC products and drones, flight sim products over in the US especially, and across a lot of Europe as well. I represent a really cool, very niche arcade manufacturer over in the UK called Bespoke Arcades, an event company called Replay Events that do really cool retro shows. And a whole bunch others. In the UK, we have a software company called Sold Out. We have an indie company called Wired Productions.
You work with
3.
Wired.
Yeah, we work with Wired. Yeah.
Okay, we've covered a handful of their stuff on the show.
Oh, what did you cover?
God, I'm trying to think. I know we did Super Dungeon Brothers.
Oh, yeah, really cool game. Yeah, that's really cool.
I've been in touch with them for Town of Light and Victor Vran.
Town of Light and Victor Vran, yeah, they're both brilliant. So we're working on that at the moment with those guys. And System 3 as well, so we're working on Constructor, which is making a comeback to PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch later in the summer as well.
Does that have a release date? Because I think I first saw that game had a release date in January of last year.
That's a really sore point.
What the fuck is going on with that game?
It is coming. It's coming probably at the end of May. We hope. We're sure. End of May, but not on Switch. It's coming on Switch. I want to say July. But yes, end of May. We're very confident it's going to be here by the end of May.
No, I'm glad it's finally coming around. I know we've tackled Tiny Troopers as well when that hit the Xbox.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great game. I like Tiny Troopers.
I love that one. I've had so much fun with that. I even picked it up on my Windows phone, and it's just a fun game.
But I tell you, Constructor is looking beautiful. Town of Light is fantastic. Victor Vran is fantastic. We like to work with good companies. So
I am so ridiculously excited for Victor Vran, and I know I've been chatting with the guys at 1PR about that game. I'm not sure if
that's right. Mm-hmm.
Based on like region and who's where and whatnot, but I am my fingers have never been so crossed that our show gets a game as Victor Vran. I can't wait for that one.
I'm going to make that happen for you. So that's right. So 1PR is our partner agency. They're doing amazing work over in the US, and we're handling UK and Europe.
Nice. Put in a good word for us with 1PR. So.
I promise, Joe, that's going to be the next email I send. We'll say, hey, let's hook Joe up.
Nice.
It's going to be amazing.
Nice. We've done a lot with them so far, but you know, I know nothing's guaranteed with games and coverage and PR and stuff like that.
I'm relatively certain I can put in a good word for you, bud. We'll get it sorted.
But we should probably talk about LucidSound. That's the main reason that I first got in touch with you. News just came out that LucidSound is going to be releasing the very first completely wireless headset for the Xbox One.
That's right. It's huge news for us. So it's a world first. Yeah, it's a world first. LucidSound, by the way. I'm gonna digress here in case your listeners haven't heard of LucidSound, but it really is, and I'm a PR guy, so look, I guess I would say this, but it really is the most exciting name in gaming audio today. And of course, don't take my word for it. You know, I invite you and your listeners to go check out the reviews from real gamers on Amazon or Google and check out what the press says about the brand. But LucidSound really is a cut above everything else that you'll find in the gaming audio space. And they have an interesting story to tell. There's almost a startup company. They've been going just over a year. They shipped their first headset in March of 2016. And it was started by the guys that founded Triton. So Triton was another brand of gaming audio you guys may well remember. Built up a fantastic... In fact, it was like number 1, number 2 in a lot of places around the globe. And then I think it's like 2009, 2010, Mad Catz purchased Triton. So I was working at Mad Catz at the time. I spent 8 years doing I was their director of global PR. And I was working at Mad Catz when they purchased Triton. So Triton came on in. And the guys that started that, the guy that started that was a wonderful guy called Kris Huber. And he came to work at Mad Catz. In 2011, he left. So he didn't like the way the brand was being handled, I think, over at Mad Catz. So he decided to leave. And he took a long-standing member of staff called Aaron Smith, who was a very senior product development guy there. So he took him with. And they went away to build a better headset. So they went away and started concepting a couple of different ideas. And they founded LucidSound. So it's founded by the guy that started Triton and one of the top engineers and product developers there called Aaron Smith. And they started the company. And they're based in San Diego. It's a small company. They're keeping it very small at the moment. But everybody actually at the company, and I do mean everybody, comes from a gaming audio background. And they wanted to keep it very small and very tight. And the guys just care about audio. In fact, they're fanatical. They're truly fanatical about getting the gaming audio right, and they wanted to build a better headset. They're all gamers. We're all gamers. I'm a gamer, and I'm a hardcore gamer, and we just didn't like what was going on in gaming audio. You know, we're frustrated by every damn headset that you see. Just looks like it belongs in Futurama. You know, they're like these. They got these big sort of bulky sci-fi aesthetics, or they're these horrible colors, and they're covered in flashing lights, and they got rocker switches everywhere, and dials, and remote controls, and made up freaking technology that just doesn't exist. And it's just, yes, get out of town. Like we don't want that, and nobody over the age of 12 wants that. We just want a great sounding headset that's not a rip-off, that doesn't, isn't full of gimmicks, that just sounds great, looks great, and has features that are dedicated for a gaming audience. It's not rocket science. When I say it like that, it sounds so obvious, but find me another gaming headset that does what the LucidSound headset does at the price it does, and looks as good, and I don't think you can find it. So that's what they're doing. They're making lifestyle headsets you can use throughout your entire day. You don't feel self-conscious using this on a plane, on your daily commute, or just to listen to music or a movie. Not full of flashing lights. They look great, but they sound fantastic. And been going just over a year. So they shipped their first headset, the LS30. They shipped their first headset, I think, in February or March of last year. They've shipped 2 other headsets since. There's the LS20, which is a portable powered headset. There's the flagship, which is the DTS Headphone X model. That's called the LS40, and that only launched a couple of months back. Has been getting amazing reviews. But we announced in January a deal with Microsoft. And this is where it gets really interesting. So in January, we announced that we're working with Microsoft on a range of official Xbox hardware. And you're absolutely right. Last week, we wanted to get a leap on some of our competitors who we know are going to be coming out with announcements as we roll up to E3. So we wanted to get in first. And last week, we announced the LS35X, which is a world first. It's the first ever gaming headset to be announced for Xbox One and Project Scorpio that features direct connect to the hardware. So you don't need any chat cables, there's no dongles, there's no transmitters, there's no base stations. It connects just like your Xbox controller does.
Now, how did you guys go about working with Microsoft for this? Because the Xbox One has been out for quite a while, and there is no wireless solution for chat. What was it with LucidSound that became the first one?
Well, we kidnapped Phil Spencer's dog, and and we took photos of and sent it to him and said, "Give us the license."
I'd like the voice modulator. If you ever want to see your dog again,
dog again,
approve our wireless protocol
right now. Oh, that would be amazing.
We're not screwed around.
Maybe we could do that together to bring back that dragon game. What's the name of it? It's just escaped me. The dragon game got
Scalebound.
Oh, man.
That still hurts.
It's an idea for Scalebound. Let's do that. Let's go kidnap a pet of Phil Spencer's to get Scalebound out. I'm not advocating kidnapping, just so we're very sure on this show.
I'm not advocating it either, unless it leads to Scalebound coming back.
Unless it leads, yeah. Now we can justify it. Sure, it's a great idea. Look, kids, it worked. So, look, Microsoft are fantastic. They really are. I got to tell you, Microsoft are really great partners to work with. Great partners. And we've had a great relationship with those guys back from the days at Triton. Chris and Aaron know a lot of the guys at Microsoft. We actually worked when Triton was part of Mad Catz. We did work with Microsoft on a range of officially licensed Xbox 360 headsets. So we know the way that these guys work, and we've been on their radar since the first LucidSound headset shipped, and we've been speaking to these guys, and they're great partners. They do love what they do. They're very, very enthusiastic about hardware. They're very enthusiastic about bringing something new and something cool for the gamers. They do care. They really do. And, we've been speaking about an official license for a long time, but I think what we were very hesitant to do, which you do see from some companies, gaming has moved on from the days where you can just take a regular headset and, I don't know, slap a green X on it and expect people to pay an extra $30 or whatever for it. It just doesn't work anymore, right? So if you're going to do a licensed product, and if you're going to pay for that license, and if you're going to put effort into that, you've really got to be able to deliver something that justifies that license. And we were speaking to Microsoft and like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if? So just to be clear, there will be others. There's absolutely others. Microsoft are working with other companies in the gaming audio headset space, and there will be others that also direct connect to Xbox One and Project Scorpio. I don't have visibility on what those products will be, what they'll look like, what they'll sound like, or when they're going to be announced. But we know it's coming. We know Microsoft are working with others, so it's not an exclusive deal. Mm-hmm. But it's all about being first, right? And we were first to announce. And do
you know if you'll be first to release as well?
Well, you never know because the product hasn't released yet. So I don't know. I can't answer that because I just don't know what our competitors are doing. But I guess two things on that. First of all, we are on course very much to be releasing this holiday season. That's one thing I should say. And I would imagine our competitors will want to launch in a similar sort of time frame. But the other thing is, it was important for us to get the news out there first. Absolutely, I think it's a sign of intent, and I think it's a great news story for LucidSound. It shows how serious we are about Xbox gamers, but we will not rush things. It's the difference between us and some of the other companies. We're just not going to do it. The LS40, the flagship, really started shipping in January. We hoped to get that product out sort of September, October last year. And it was ready, but it wasn't as good as we knew it could be. So we wanted to keep tuning the drivers, keep tweaking the DTS Headphone X algorithm, and improving upon the product so it's as good as it could possibly be. Aaron Smith actually is the chief audio engineer as well as being the founder. He's sort of in charge of the audio. And he's an audiophile for sure. He just won't let a product ship until we're absolutely satisfied that it's the best it can be and better than any other competitor product on the market. So, yes, we do hope that we're going to be first to ship. I can't guarantee it because if the product ain't ready, they ain't going to ship it until it is, because that's the reputation that we have at stake.
That's the way to do it. Don't half-ass it and ship out a shitty product, right?
Yeah, nobody likes it when product is delayed. I mean, nobody likes product when it's delayed, especially if you've got your heart set on something for the holidays. But in the long run, history shows that it really does make sense to get that product right and to make sure that it's not letting your community down and not letting the fans down. And it's all we do. It's all we do is headsets. We're not. Like some of the other companies out there, we're not doing controllers and mice and keyboards and whatever else it may be. We're just doing headsets. And I think when you just we're 3 for 3 at the moment. We'd like to think we're 3 for 3 with the LS20, the LS30, and the LS40. The reviews have been phenomenal. We're averaging 4 or 5 out of 5, I think, on Amazon for all 3 of those products.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean it's great, it's great, and that's something you can't buy as a PR guy. I'm really pleased that the media have reviewed those headsets incredibly strongly, but you can't buy the real reviews of real gamers. So it's something that we're so phenomenally proud of. The reception to the headsets has just been amazing, and we certainly don't want to mess it up with a product that's important as the LS35X.
See, I would love to find like a really good premium headset that works well with me. I've never really had the money to drop on like a $200 headset like the LS40s. So like right now for this show and for my computer, I just have like the $60 Microsoft, like their first party wired headset for the Xbox One. And it works enough. Pretty good. I'm looking for that really, really good, just worthwhile headset that's going to last me, and it's not going to give me issues, or it's not going to be like, well, the sound quality's okay, the mic is okay. And talking with you and hearing about LucidSound, I think I want to try LucidSound. My question is, you have...
Am I convincing you, Joe?
Well, if I'm in the market for one, might as well go with the one that I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You have the LS30s and the LS40, which is the flagship. The wireless headset is the LS35. So is that just a wireless version of the 30? And if so, why didn't you guys go with the wireless of the 40 model?
Oh, maybe it's late at night here. So now even I'm getting confused. So we have the LS20, which is out there at the moment. That's a wired headset. Then we have the LS30, which was actually the first headset to ship. Now that's a stereo headset. That's wireless. It's for Xbox One and PS4. That still needs a chat cable, so that works in much of this, and a dongle, a transmitter as well. So that works much the same as all the other Xbox One headsets out there at the moment. And you have the LS40, which actually works the same way, but that's DTS Headphone X. The LS35X. It's not fair to say. It's not quite fair to say. It's just the Xbox version of the LS30. There are some redesign points on there as well. So, of course, first of all, you don't need the chat cable. You don't need the dongle. You don't need a transmitter. It's recognized directly by the console, just like a controller. So you get little on-screen prompts, tells you how much your battery life you've got on the headset as well, which is really neat. And it also features head tracking. You've got Dolby Atmos there. You've got Windows Sonic technology on there too. The ear cups have been redesigned. So it is definitely its own product.
Oh, wow. I was going to add, one of our listeners, No Pulse, was asking the types of audio that is supported. He asks, can you tell the difference in quality? Because surround sound is important for a lot of gamers. I would never go back to a standard stereo headset. Need that positioning.
Well, it's very true. It's very true. It's interesting, actually, that for a lot of folks, the quality of the drivers and how you tune those drivers is very different as well. You can actually, a lot of our competitors will go. They'll go to a factory. They'll pick up the driver. They'll slap it in a headband. They'll push it out, and it's not right. It's not right for a gaming audience, and the sound can be very dull, very flat. We actually tuned all the drivers that we use. We tune the components specifically for a gaming audience. So a lot of folks say that when they buy our LS30, which is just a stereo headset, it actually sounds more surround-like than some of the dedicated surround sound headsets on the marketplace, because it has a very open-sounding sound field. It's very immersive. It really does draw you into the action, and that's because of the way that we tune it specifically for for games, and to make sure that that you're really being drawn into it, into the game when you're using it. In terms of what audio formats are supported, if you just want standard stereo, yeah, you're gonna be fine with standard stereo. But it does use Dolby Atmos and also Windows Sonic, which is available, I believe, on Windows 10. And Dolby Atmos is going to be available as well. So they're going to give you the virtual 7.1 surround sound. And the head tracking is really cool. So that's going to be a really cool feature. So the head tracking means that even when you tilt your head to the left or right, the sound sounds like it remains locked in a fixed space, much like a regular speaker, so that you can theoretically turn your head around if you want to hear enemies approaching from behind you, or if your buddies are speaking to you in the distance behind you. If you turn your head around, you should be able to hear those guys. It tracks your head.
That is fucking ridiculous.
I know, it's insane. It's insane.
How the hell does that, how does that work?
Yeah, that's the software that's doing it. So that's actually not built into the headset. That's actually software. That's the software algorithm that's doing that. That's from my understanding. Do you know what, Joe? You should come and see us at E3 and find out more about it. And I can introduce
Oh my God, I wish I could get to E3.
You need to get to E3, and you can sit down with Aaron, and he can talk to you till the cows come home about the technicals.
I live in Pennsylvania, and I cannot afford a trip to E3. That's like one of the things I would love to do in life. It's just financially. That's one of the things I can't do in life.
I hear you. Well, yeah, and actually, I just want to actually go back to another point you said. So a lot of folks feel the same way, and that's cool. I mean, I'm down with that. If people just don't want to spend a lot of money on a gaming headset, I get that. I mean, I absolutely do. I mean, you can actually pick up the LS20 for about 80 to 100. Sorry, the LS20 for about $80 to $100 right now. So I mean, that's not too expensive, and that's a great entry level headset, by the way. But nevertheless, I understand and appreciate some people don't like headsets. Period, right? Some people just don't like headsets, and some people don't understand why they should spend a lot of money on a headset. But I think I always use this story. Steven Spielberg says that audio for a movie is delivers over 50% of what an audience needs to perceive when watching that film. That's how important audio is. It really does affect your emotional state, the audio that goes on. And games are such high budget now. Look at how much money is spent on graphics and making the games look pretty. A lot of money is actually spent on making the sounds, the audio of the game reactive and interactive, and especially if you're playing VR or augmented reality, audio is such a crucial factor of gaming now, and games sound freaking phenomenal today. The scores on Last of Us, for instance, I know that's a PlayStation game, and I thought the score in Last of Us was absolutely haunting and beautiful. And it truly, if you're listening on a good gaming headset, you can pick out different instruments, you can pick out nuances, you can pick out if you're playing an FPS, for instance, you can pick out where enemy movements are coming from, where your teammates are, where explosions are. It adds so much to the gaming experience. And that's why pro gamers, if you're looking at a tournament level, they always need the headsets, because they need that extra accuracy and immersion that a good gaming headset delivers. So, I would suggest for everybody, if you're spending money on a console, if you're spending money on a big screen TV, if you're spending money on a good graphics card, whatever format you've got, it is, in my opinion, really worth investing in a gaming headset. Even if you don't think that it's going to make a big difference, a good gaming headset really does elevate your enjoyment. There's no doubt about it.
And see, that's why I want to look into something, because, I have the big screen TV, but I also have neighbors, so I can't really crank up the surround system, or, we'll have some pounding on the ceiling of like, hey, shut the hell up there.
Even if you've got a good surround system, actually the intimacy that a headset brings is very often, it really does draw you in, even in a way that even a fantastic 7.1 speaker system maybe does not. It brings you very close to the action. And it's like, when we were all kids, and you're playing your NES and you're playing it on like a shitty CRT TV, and you think, hey, this is great, it can't get better than that. And suddenly you get widescreen, and then you go from widescreen to HD, and then you go from HD to 4K, and it's hard to go back. I think once you've experienced it, and as I say again, I always find it slightly amusing that folks that go out and spend thousands of dollars on new graphics cards and processors and whatever else it may be, but they're using like a cheap $10 headset, and it amazes me. It really does. It happens all the time, but it amazes me. Go try a decent headset, even if it's not a LucidSound headset. I hope it is a LucidSound headset. Go try a decent quality headset, and I'd be amazed if many folks shrug their shoulders and say that it really didn't add to their gaming.
Another one of our listeners goes by the name of Mental Boy had a question on battery life. He's wondering what kind of battery life the headset is going to have and if it will hold up to a 12-hour gaming marathon.
I was actually going to say 12 hours. That's amazing. It truly was. Nice. It's easy for me to say, but 12 to 15 hours, is what we shoot for. 12 to 15 hours, and I think the charge time is around 3 hours.
And is it going to have a charging dock, or is it just going to be like USB and you plug it in somewhere?
Yeah, no, at the moment we're not planning a dock for it, so it's powered USB, so you can actually plug it directly into the USB of the console, and away you go. So who knows? That might be something that comes out in the future. We might be doing different products or a different SKU that has such a dock, but I believe with the LS35X will not ship with a dock. And that's purely cost. It's just to keep costs down. So we haven't announced pricing yet, but we're not going, for the super high-end $400 headset, with all those bells and whistles. So we'd rather keep the cost down and make it reasonable in this instance. Do
you see it being somewhere around like the LS40 or maybe a step above that?
It won't be above that. No, it's not going to be above that. Certainly not. You're pushing me now for a price. I can't do that.
I'm just looking for a ballpark. Just a ballpark.
I just can't. I can't say any more now. But we will be announcing pricing soon. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Let's put it like that. Surprisingly reasonable.
The fact that you said it is not going to be more than the LS40 at least confirms that it'll be $200 or less.
Let's hope so. Let's cross our fingers. Let's hope.
I'm going to hold you to that. Make sure you do. So for someone in the market,
I think you'll be very, very impressed. And I should be able to tease you now, but that's not all we're announcing at E3 either.
Oh. What are you announcing at E3?
At ED3? Well, that would be telling. I can't tell you, but we got some more surprises up our sleeve. Let's put it like that.
Well, you mentioned that you're strictly a headset company. Like, what else can you like? Where else do you go?
Did I say that? Did I say we're a headset company? We're a gaming audio company. That much is certain. And all of our products so far have been headsets. We're exploring different ideas. That's for sure. It is true that the three products we have are gaming headsets. The LS35X, which will be next up, is a gaming headset. But yeah, we're exploring some different ideas as well. I can't really say more than that until we've actually announced it. But there's different ideas that are cooking around at the moment.
Something like those rocker chairs that I used to see in Walmart all the time.
No. No, that's no, not quite. I quite like the idea of that, but no, that's not something that we've got on the roadmap at the moment. But different types of audio products, I'll put it like that. But always going to be focused around gaming.
Nice.
But we did announce. I mean, you can put two and two together. But we did announce that the LS35X is the first product in a range of officially licensed hardware for Xbox One and Project Scorpio.
Now I'm wondering what else you guys could be working on.
Well,
you said you're not doing anything like controllers.
No.
Or anything like that. So,
Well, we're just going to have to wait and see. You're going to have to wait and see what E3 brings. But
indeed. E3 feels so far away.
Not to me. I'm the one that's got to work on all this shit. and there's a lot to do. But I say again, we wanted to get we did want to get the LS35X. We wanted to be the first to announce. I think it's important for a young company like ours. We don't have the marketing dollars that some of our competitors have. We wanted to be first, and we wanted to show. It's a statement of intent as well, how important the Microsoft license is for us. So we wanted to be first out there, but we've got other really cool products as well. These guys are working on some absolutely incredible things, and again, important for us not to be gimmicky. So I'm not saying the rocket chairs are gimmicky, but we don't want to come out with products that are sort of like kind of goofy and that really don't stand up to scrutiny or aren't really practical for sort of everyday gaming. So we got a really neat product that I think you're going to love, and I expect to get an email from you when we announce it. But let's just see what E3 brings.
Sounds good. I will definitely keep an eye on you guys for E3 and what other news would come your way. So I'm trying to rack my brain thinking what else you guys could be working on that's not headset related. Like all I could think of would be like a surround system or like a sound bar or something, but who knows?
Who knows, indeed.
It is not a rocker chair, so...
It is not a rocker chair, not yet. I promise you. I'm going to go on record as saying that LucidSound will not be announcing a rocker chair at E3 2017. So
all right, I am locking down the news exclusives.
Yeah, if you're in the market for a rocket chair, you're going to have a rocker chair, you're going to have to go elsewhere. That much is certain. But look, we got some neat stuff, and we're also going to be announcing some products outside of the Microsoft licensing project that we have going. So there are other formats out there. We're going to be on the show floor in a pretty neat capacity as well. In fact, with a special edition headset supporting the US military, which is an interesting project for us too. So actually going to be selling those, because I think this E3 you're going to have members of the public going, so they're opening up to the public. So we wanted to do something neat for fans and for actual people visiting the show that perhaps want to walk away with a headset that day. So we're doing a limited run of headsets in support of the U.S. military, and they're going to be really cool. So they're going to have the American flag actually, I think, laser etched into the ear cup. So that's going to be pretty cool for us, and we're going to be announcing more details of that in the coming weeks.
Are those going to be just rebranded designs of one of your current headsets?
They're special edition LS30s.
30s, yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Wow, so you guys are going all out with this giveaway.
Well, we hope so. Yeah, we like to do neat things. We like to do, some different things. We teamed up with Konami at PAX. That's just gone up in Boston, and that was a great show for us. Konami were great partners, so we did a whole bunch of stuff around Super Bomberman. So if you follow us on Twitter, LucidSound Audio on Twitter, you would have seen a whole bunch of really cool Bomberman giveaways, and Konami being great partners. We're partnering here in the UK. We're partnering with Bandai Namco on a game called Get Even. I don't know if that's on your radar. That's looking phenomenal as well. And there's a game, for instance, that goes back to what I was saying about 10 minutes ago. So that uses an interactive score. So the score changes as you play the game and how you play the game. And music is such an important element of the game. They're doing this really cool, kick-ass PR event in Pinewood Studios, where they shoot James Bond movies on the John Barry stage. He's the composer of the James Bond films, and they're bringing in a live orchestra to play portions of the game of Get Even. And so we're proud to be supporting the Bandai Namco with our LS20s, which are going to be available to every audience member that comes to play Get Even as well. So it's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I've had my eyes on Get Even for a while, so I'm excited for that one as well.
What are you excited for at E3? What do you think's going to be hot at E3?
Oh man, I want to know more about the Scorpio. I really do. I own everything, but I am an Xbox fan first and foremost, and I want to see what's going on with Project Scorpio, how powerful it's going to be. I want to know if Microsoft is actually going to have some exclusives worth paying attention to, because as much as I'm an Xbox fan, I'm getting tired of every year it's Gears, Halo, and Forza. Gears, Halo, and Forza. Gears, Halo. Like, that's what pissed me off so much about Scalebound.
I completely agree. I actually really hope we don't see Halo, Gears, or Forza. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be amazing if they had wouldn't that be amazing if they had an amazing E3 show without those games? That would just be, to me, that would actually be phenomenal. I think that would be a great statement of intent for those guys. And,
well, we know we're going to see a new Forza game,
right?
So there's no way E3 is going to come and go without seeing Forza 7.
Okay, let's wait and see. I don't know. I'm not speaking from. I don't know. Microsoft haven't shared that with us. I know a few little bits about the Scorpio, and I think it's just going to be phenomenal. I'm sure of that. I think from a hardware perspective, it is in no way going to disappoint. That's my belief. I don't think from a hardware perspective anyone's going to leave disappointed. I think they're going to knock it out of the park. If anything, I think it's going to be overkill. It's just like they're going nuclear on this thing. It's going to be amazing. But it's all about the games, right? That really is it. It's all about the games. And I'm also intrigued on the exclusive strategy, if there will be any exclusive titles. I mean, I think they have gone on record, right? They've gone on record as saying that everything's going to work on Xbox One as well, have they not?
Yeah.
But you're saying like exclusive to the Xbox platform, not exclusive to Scorpio.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with, they say they have the Play Anywhere with Xbox and PC,
Windows,
whatever. I would like to see reasons why I should be buying games on Xbox instead of on PlayStation or instead of on the Switch, or just give us more Japanese support. Like, I want to see stuff like Bloodborne or like Yakuza or fucking Puyo Tetris on Xbox One. Like, that still blows my mind with Sega. The game exists on Xbox One already in Japan. Why didn't they bring that version over?
Oh, Joe, I wish I could answer that for you, buddy. That's out of my skill set. But look, I completely agree with you. And the one thing that I think Sony have been killing it on, certainly in this generation, is making the PS4 appeal to everybody. Right? It appeals to such a diverse audience because of the titles that they have. So, if you're a mass market consumer, you only play the yearly Call of Duty or FIFA Soccer or whatever it may be. They've got that sorted for you. If you like your Japanese titles, then you've got the Final Fantasy, you've got Yakuza. In terms of first-party exclusives, Horizon Zero Dawn, which I think is phenomenal, by the way. Mm-hmm. They've got that as well. So I think Sony are on a bit of a roll, but that's good. That's fine. I think you need both of those big guys to be truly competitive, because it makes the other one stronger. And I think I know that the Microsoft team really care. They really care, and they hear everything that's said, and I think they take it personally. I think Phil Spencer is a great leader, and I think they're not going to disappoint us this E3. I hope not, anyway.
I honestly think this will be the first E3 that we start to see Phil Spencer's influence really show. Because of, things can't happen overnight. When Phil Spencer replaced Matrick, people are expecting things to change immediately, and that's not how the gaming industry works.
Well, you're absolutely right. It's 3 to 5 years as a development cycle, right? And I think things probably did change immediately internally, and from a sort of mindset, I think they probably did. But you're right, seeing the fruits of the labor. And let's not forget that, but of course, by the time Phil took over, the hardware was already shipped. So there was only so much you could actually change to the hardware and the way that product was sold and marketed. So, Scorpio, I guess, is the first product to come from his vision, and it's going to be a great E3.
Yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait. The only other thing I would love to see come from E3 is for PlayStation to announce a controller that doesn't suck, because I've always hated the DualShock. I despise the DualShock. When we do reviews on PlayStation games, 90% of the time, my biggest gripe is that it has a fucking DualShock, because I hate it.
There's some good quality alternatives out there now, though, right? You can go to Scuff, or you can go to Hori, or I think Razer have an Elite controller out now. So plenty of choice out there.
I'm tempted to find one of those adapters to just use an Xbox One controller on a PS4, because nothing tops the Elite controller on Xbox One.
It's fantastic. There's no doubt about it. It's a phenomenal controller. It's what I use. It's great. It just feels great.
Amazing. It feels great. It looks great. I wish they would address the bumper issue that people have of their bumpers snapping because they're just flimsy plastic, but...
Yeah, I've heard of a couple of buddies who have had that. I haven't experienced that. It's not a huge issue for me, but I don't know. I still think it sets a very high bar, doesn't it? I think the Elite controller, and what's interesting is actually how successful that has been. It's great. I come from a hardware background. I spent so many years doing gaming hardware, and you always battle. Either retailers or sort of internal development folks, and or indeed gamers who say, yeah, I'm not going to spend like $100 on a controller. But Microsoft have shown that, once again, how important that component is, and it goes back to what we were saying about headsets. If you can actually demonstrate that it's going to make your gaming experience either better, if you're going to play better, if it's going to draw you into the action, if it's going to make it more immersive, if it's not a gimmick. Then I think gamers are going to be willing to spend a little bit more cash for that experience.
Yeah, I love.
It's a different mindset, right? It's a different mindset. And back in the sort of days of the NES or whatever, that's when the commodity products were really huge because you didn't give a shit what you're playing. Really, it's like it's going to go to player 2 or player 3. It doesn't matter. But now you do, and I think as the age demographic gets a little bit older as well, and we're all playing into our 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, you care about quality just like you do with your cell phone or your car or whatever else it may be. And I love the Elite as well.
Yeah.
It's a great product.
It's so comfortable. And the added weight, it feels right.
Are you getting yourself a little excited there, Joe? You sound...
See, and that's why I need a premium headset. I need a premium headset to go with my premium controller.
Well, maybe we'll send you one. How about that? Maybe I'll send you an LS40 to review.
Hey, I would love to do some hardware reviews on the show. We cover games from indies and bigger publishers. We've been covering more and more frequently. We're covering bigger games on the show, so I would love to get into hardware stuff. The closest we've gotten to a hardware review was I reviewed the PlayStation VR because our listeners funded it for the show. We held a fundraising drive, and they basically bought the show at PlayStation VR, so we did a review on that.
Did you like it? Did you give it a good review?
I think it's an awesome entry-level VR solution. The biggest issue is the PlayStation camera is just a piece of shit. For what it's trying to do, having a crappy webcam do all of the motion tracking is just not enough. Mm-hmm. So it leads to a lot of detection issues and tracking issues. You can't turn around, so everything has to be front facing. I would love to see a VR solution that uses something like the Kinect, where it has full room positioning and tracking, and just something that's not a $60 camera. So.
No, I hear you. Well, look, that exists, right? If you want to go for something like the Vive. That exists, right? I mean, VR can be absolutely phenomenal if you're willing to pay for it. That's just it. It's I think the Sony wanted to make it mass market. They did a pretty good job of that.
No, they did a great job of that.
Is really fairly solid and pretty good value for what you get.
The fact that they're at 1 million units sold, something like that.
It ain't bad. I don't think it's it's like 3D in some way, and I hope your listeners aren't thinking, no, it's not. Shut up! What are you talking about? 3D is horrible. But my point is,
like 3D.
3D. Even if I love 3D, actually, I really do, and I think actually 3D for TV sort of doesn't work. It doesn't work unless you've got like a big home theater. I got like a 3D projector screen. I got like a 106-inch 3D projector screen, and there it really works. I don't think sort of 3D on a 42-inch TV works particularly well, and I don't think that people want to wear glasses for sort of casual TV viewing. But I don't think 3D is going to go away. I think it's it's great for sort of marquee events, for big movies or for the big sporting event. I think it has its place. And I personally believe the same thing about VR. I don't think it's going to go away. I think we're still at the start. I'm not convinced yet that we're gonna, give up regular TVs and regular controllers and everything is going to be VR. I think I think the sort of early vision was over ambitious. I think it's going to be a much slower burn, and I don't think you're going to use VR for your entire gaming, because I think it's a very communal thing still. I still like to play with buddies. I still like to sit on the couch and play with the kids or whatever. And I don't think everyone wants to sit down and shut themselves off from the world and play with a VR headset. You will have games that are great for that. You will have a sector of the audience that really wants that. But I don't think it's going to completely replace regular gaming. That's for sure.
I just can't see VR becoming a social thing unless it's taking turns. Like look at E3 when Ubisoft showed off Eagle Flight, and they had 8 people on stage, all with the PlayStation VR headset. Like, who the fuck has 8 PlayStations, 8 VR headsets, 8 TVs, so that 8 people could hang out at a party and play fucking Eagle Flight together? That doesn't happen.
Yeah, 100% right. I agree completely. Yeah, completely. And it's it's trying to sell a dream that I just don't think we're ready for yet. But we'll see. It ain't going away. I think that Microsoft could well be taking the right approach. I think augmented reality is slightly different because it doesn't cut you off from your friends, and it can just enhance it. And I think
with HoloLens.
Yeah, I think they actually might be onto something there.
My brain still just explodes every time I think of that HoloLens presentation where they showed them building Minecraft just
and it was
there on the table.
Stage. Yeah, it's amazing. It was an amazing demo, and I think something like that possibly makes a lot more sense, where your friends can be in the room and you can still see each other and whatever. But really, even then, that the technology eventually needs to be wireless as well, which is the other thing. So you've got all kinds of battery issues and lag issues that are sort of associated with that. And we'll see. We'll see how it pans out.
Indeed, E3 could bring some interesting surprises, I'm sure.
It could. I think it could. We'll wait and see. It's almost more. I mean, it's a given that Scorpio is going to be awesome. I think it's a given that they can show some fantastic games. It's interesting to see, in my mind, what will Nintendo and Sony have to show us. I think that'll also be interesting, right?
Psychotron in the chat is saying VR is a joke. The tech is not ready. What do you think of that?
Well, I understand. I understand. I think the tech is ready. It depends if it depends sort of what setup you're playing. Once again, I've played some outrageous cool setups on Vive with fantastic hardware, with all the cameras and the fancy controllers, and when you're in that perfect scenario, when you're in that perfect environment, it's incredibly cool. And when you experience VR on that scale, you come away and for the next 10 minutes you're like, oh, I'm sold. This is it. This is the future, baby.
Yeah.
Sign me up. Let me into the Matrix.
I think the tech is there. It's the money that is the issue, because
it's the money that's needed to get that sort of environment right.
Yeah, if you want that setup that you're talking about, you need the super high-powered PC. You need a Vive. You need the motion controllers. You need what is it? The full room setup with the 2 things to detect full room movement. Yeah. That shit all in all, it's going to cost you $2,000 to get that kind of perfect VR setup.
But it's not just that, and you are absolutely right. In fact, I mean that's the biggest barrier of entry. But it's not just that. You need the space as well. Don't forget that. You need the space. You need a perfectly sized room, perfectly shaped room, and you need. Most of us, let's be honest, have got kids running around, or we got you got
cats
so much
running around.
Everywhere, cats running around. And I don't think this is what Microsoft understood about Kinect as well, right? Over here in Europe, so I'm in London, and we have smaller houses than a lot of folks in the US, and certainly in Japan, right? So try playing a Kinect when you're 2 foot away from the television. Yeah. It doesn't work, and it's some of that technology. You really do need that perfect setup, and I'm not sure how much the cost will come down. I'm sure it will over time, but he has a point. I guess that you need to spend a lot of money to get the tech there. Yeah. I would argue against when they say the tech isn't there. It sort of is, but only if you've got a shit ton of cash to throw at it.
Yeah. But I guess we'll see.
Well, we will see. We will see.
What are you looking forward to at E3?
What am I looking forward to at E3?
Yeah, because you'll be there. What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to seeing what folks make of the new LucidSound headsets. That's for sure. I'm looking forward. We got some fun stuff going on over at Snakebite as well. Another one of my fantastic clients. We're going to be showing some really cool flight sim product, and we're going to be showing some really neat new accessories on Nintendo Switch. Games that we're going to be showing over at E3 are also going to be pretty amazing. But what am I looking forward to? Well, I'm looking forward to Scorpio as well. I really am. I'm intrigued to see some of the games on there. I can't wait to sort of see how the pieces of the puzzle fit together. So I'm interested on sort of price and release date and what I'm going to be playing day one. But then I'm also interested in seeing Sony's response. Sony I think have killed it for the last couple of E3s. They really have. They've really killed it. And arguably they've had the better show for the last couple of years. And Sony ain't stupid. I know those guys very well. They're all dear friends of mine also. They ain't stupid. They know that the Microsoft are going to be really strong. So I'm just kind of wondering. I think there is an outside chance, and a lot of your listeners are going, no, this guy's ridiculous. But I think there's an outside chance they might announce or allude to some hardware announcement of their own, whatever that may be. I just don't know. But it seems ultimately
PlayStation 4 Pro XL.
Possibly, or just start talking about what they want the PS5 to be. I mean, it is way early, I guess, but it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. What are we now? Year 4, year 5 with PlayStation 4? And they said they wanted the cycle to be much shorter than.
Do you think we'll see a PlayStation 5, or do you think the thought of generations is kind of gone? That we'll just see more power, like the next PlayStation will just be like the PlayStation?
I will bet you anything. I will bet you anything that I am in possession of, you will see a PlayStation 5. Yeah, absolutely. Sony certainly won't stop until they get that PS5. I think it'll be interesting to see if PlayStation 5 doesn't sell, or it's a letdown, then I think they might think again. But I think that certainly Sony, more than Microsoft at the moment, still very much in the mindset or philosophy of bringing out a next generation console. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
The PS4 Pro, I don't have numbers in front of me. I'm sure it's selling well. I'm sure they're happy with it. But, the PS4 has been a phenomenon, right? So I'd be surprised if you saw another interim machine. You might see a slightly cheaper version of a PS4 or PS4 Pro. You might see a slimmer version or a cheaper version or whatever. But I don't think you're going to see I don't think you're going to see an even more souped up machine. I don't think you'll see a PS4 Pro. I think the next iteration in terms of a true hardware change will probably be PS5. And for what it's worth, I don't think you're going to see. I don't really think that they're going to talk about it, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did at this E3, because they're going to try to find whatever they can to rain on Microsoft's parade. But maybe Last of Us 2, that'd be pretty neat, huh?
Yeah, I'm excited for that. That's got to be amazing. Naughty Dog can do no wrong.
They really can't, right? They really can't. I'm expecting to see more of God of War. That looked pretty nice last year. So I'd be surprised if you didn't see a little more than that. They've got to pull out some surprises. They know they do.
Yeah.
Because they can't give it all to.
If they're gonna. If Sony's going to keep showing off stuff that's like years ahead, I'm going to stop caring about their press conferences, because everyone says, oh, Sony won E3, Sony won E3, Sony won E3. It's like, yeah, they won it for shit that's coming out in 3 years. That's why I like Microsoft's conferences and Nintendo's conferences, because they're showing off shit that you're going to play this fall or early next year. It's not,
it's a very marked different. You're absolutely right. It's a very different philosophy.
This is releasing in 2023,
and sometimes that's because they just simply don't have, the games. I think the last couple of holidays have been fairly weak for Sony with stuff coming out the following March or April. So it really didn't have a choice but to show stuff that was coming out far in the future. So I think you're absolutely right. It's the Sony way, but Sony go with that schedule. They go with that mindset and philosophy because it works very well for them. I think it attracts the mass market, and people at home are like, holy shit, this game looks amazing, I'm going to go and buy a PS4. Without realizing that actually that game's like 5 years away.
What was it, 2 years ago they announced Final Fantasy 7 and Shenmue 3? Where the fuck are they? Oh wait, maybe next year.
So who knows, maybe we'll see some of that stuff being played right now. So
and Psychotron is saying that they're looking forward to the surprises that no one knew was coming. It's just we know so much stuff. Everything leaks anymore, which sucks.
Well, yeah, it does. But quite often with Sony stuff, it doesn't leak until like 2 days or 3 days before, where they just can't keep it secret anymore because all the assets are being prepared. So we're still a little bit early. I'm sure there's going to be some stuff that we don't know at the moment. Whether or not it'll hold till E3, I doubt. But I think there'll be some surprises that here and now on May the 10th or 11th, whatever it is today, that we don't know about. Also on Nintendo, if you just talk about those guys, I think that's going to be an interesting one because the Switch has sold, I think, far better than a lot of folks were thinking it was going to. I think even Nintendo would probably admit that they've been pleasantly surprised at how well it's sold. So, in speaking to a lot of game developers, the story that I'm hearing time and time from developers out there is like, holy shit, this machine's selling well. We better make some games for it.
Yeah.
It's caught a lot of people off guard. So you're going to see the first year and probably the first few years, you're going to see a lot of lazy ports of people bringing out pre-existing IP and just rushing it to Switch. But it will be interesting to see if we're going to see any surprises out there and what's going to be announced for Switch at the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Nintendo does. I love my Switch. I am having so much fun with the thing. Is LucidSound working on anything Switch specific, maybe?
Switch specific. Well, we've positioned the LS20 as the ideal Switch headset, which it really is. The LS20 is our entry level product. Again, powered. It's a powered portable headset, so it's portable just like your Switch. It's really high quality, full metal, very little plastic on there, so it actually fits in with the design and the build of Switch perfectly, and it works perfectly with Switch. It's just plug and play. The audio quality is fantastic. So we've we've kind of positioned the LS20 as your ideal companion for Switch. And indeed, I think if you go to lucidsound.com, you'll see a lot of advertising for the LS20 is sort of focused around being a perfect partner for Switch. But again, watch this space. Who knows what's coming around the corner?
You guys need a Switch-themed LS20 where the left ear cup is colored blue and the right one's colored pink.
Yeah, I quite like that. That's pretty good.
I think those would sell. People will be like, "Oh my god, it matches my Switch."
We'll take it under advisement.
Oh man, well I know we've been talking for nearly an hour now. See, I told you I'd get people on here for an hour. You didn't think I would do it.
No, I did not. I can't believe it's been an hour. I'm going to have to go, Joe, but you, sir, are amazing. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much for coming on. Do you want to do one more round of plugs, let people know where they could find you and how they could keep in touch with you, and not just Lucid Sound, but everything that you're doing?
Whew, that's a lot.
Okay, well, the bigger stuff that you're doing, not everything.
Okay, no, absolutely. Well, do check out Lucid Sound, lucidsound.com, of course, for all your information on Lucid Sound. Please follow us on social media. So on Twitter, we're Lucid Sound Audio, at Lucid Sound Audio. So please do follow us there. My company is Little Big PR. My Twitter handle is at Real Big Boy Barry. Don't ask, it's a long story.
Oh, we didn't even get to talk about that. Son of a bitch.
We didn't get to talk about Big Boy. That'll be next time. That'll be the sequel, Joe. That'll be the next call. We'll talk about my previous life as a 90s video game TV star here in the UK called Big Boy Barry. Oh man, I wonder if anyone's googling Big Boy Barry right now. So follow me on on Twitter at RealBigBoyBarry. Check out littlebigpr.com. Snakebite as well. Make sure you guys follow Snakebite. That's SNAKEBYTE. So these guys have got some amazing products coming at E3. You're going to be very happy if you're a fan of Flight Simulation or Nintendo Switch. Follow those guys on Twitter. It's going to be well worth you doing. And yeah, guess that's it for the moment.
That sounds good.
There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff.
You are a busy guy.
Oh, thank you, man. That I am. But certainly in terms of LucidSound, we got more to announce. I promise you that. So stay tuned and keep following us on social for more information.
Well, I am looking forward to that. I am looking forward to E3. I am looking forward to everything that LucidSound is working on. Alex, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Do you have any final words to end the episode?
Guess not, but stay tuned for that LS35X. It's going to be a red-hot, tip-top, non-stop, one-stop shop roller coaster ride of fun, Joe.
You practiced that, didn't you?
Daily.